Hello there. Here we are. Let's see if this sounds alright. I hope you guys can hear me. Welcome in on this brilliantly cold and sun-blocked Sunday. Very, very nice. It's really nice to have a cold day now here after having had this week in the 90 degrees Fahrenheit. We finally have gone back down to cold, which I'm very happy about. My apologies on the last stream. At the very end of it, we cut out. I believe it was due to overheating because we were in a hot temperature area. It's very hard for down here, even a good air conditioner, even centralized air to kill the natural heat of the desert. So my apologies, as I think that was the issue. I think we should be okay this stream. We'll try. We'll see what happens. Let me catch up, though, with the goings-on here with... so I'd seen what you've said there. And Fighting Max, wonderful advice. I have opinions that are... let's see. Just always learning. That's phenomenal advice, Fighting Max. Phenomenal advice. You have any experience in long distance, then? As I sadly can't IRL date anybody for a few more years since my country just hates gay people, so I can't date anybody IRL except long distance. I was wondering why your stream ended so sudden, Rich. Yeah, it gets real. So even during the winter here, we can end up in the 90 degrees Fahrenheit wheelhouse, or in the mid to high 40 degrees Celsius, even in the winter here. So... it was, again, we are in the middle of winter, and we ended up with a day that was like 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and I think everything kind of just got too hot. It's just, it was a remarkably hot day, and we've got things kind of set to winter mode around here, so we just couldn't combat it, a small summer heat. And bear in mind, that's a small summer heat. 90 degrees in the winter is, but 90 degrees in the summer is nothing. We're 115, no problem. So, again, we get to be in the high 40s to low 50s Celsius in the summer here. But in the winter, yeah. I don't have any experience in long-distance relationships, and I know it's harder that way, and especially having a gay relationship in a place that doesn't support it. But I think it should have some similarities to IRL dating, yeah? One thing that I will say... Knight, that I feel like is important, just to kind of go back on this, if you will permit my advice here. You said something, Fighting Max gave you the advice of focusing to center yourself, and I think that's wonderful. And he said, yeah, I'm trying to find a purpose in life, to live now that I have none, really. My advice is, never let your purpose, your sole purposes or purpose for existence or for happiness or for anything, never let them exist external yourself, right? They can be a reason, they can be a factor, but never let them exist external yourself, because when you do that, when things happen, and inevitably they will happen, life feels differently, and particularly meaningless or negatively. And again, bear in mind, I don't have the same... Firstly, I'm older by a substantial margin. Secondly, I am married, happily, thankfully, and that took some time, obviously, also. Thirdly, I have a child who is... not super, baby. In some cases, pretty close to some of the ages of people that have come in and spoken. And so those all have purpose to me. My marriage, my wife, my daughter. And if I lost or anything happened to them, obviously I would be devastated. But my entire purpose for existence is not external myself. So if the worst things in the world happened, would I be devastated? Would I feel? Would I hate? Yes. But would I continue to find a purpose, or would I continue to have a purpose to persevere, to live? Yes, I would. It would be a sad existence for a long time. It would be a devastating existence for a long time, undoubtedly. But it would not end my reason for existence. because I existed before all of those other things did too. I'm getting a new AC actually because of how it gets in my room, because my current one breaks down like every 2 weeks or so. Yeah, our house is central heating and air, thankfully. It's I would like to upgrade it, but it's good. It's very hard to keep up with the desert heat as intense, so I support whatever you choose to do after this. Just try to keep yourself and your mental health in mind. Yeah, that's fair. Can we please not talk? Yeah, sure. I hope your new AC works well. Very nice. My rooms get super duper hot, and sometimes my laptop can also get real hot whenever I stream for a long amount of time. Yeah, it's really difficult. That's the thing about streaming setups, is they're really heat intensive. Luckily, I'm not off of a laptop. I've got a bunch of equipment. I've done a stream a couple of years back where I kind of show some of the equipment. Obviously, the equipment's changed over the past couple of years, but I did one where I kind of showed off some of the equipment, and yeah, it's just it gets hot, and then you have to factor in obviously when the outside gets hot. So I think over here today it's meant to stay in the 30s or 40s. It's supposed to stay pretty chill, literally, and I think that's very nice. Hopefully that'll help. And so keeping windows cracked, in this case, to ventilate this room, whereas before I have to seal it and hope that the air conditioner can take care of it. But yeah, I have a board for the microphones. That thing can heat up, and then of course, and the board is like for 18 microphones, so you've got this big hub that can heat up, and so very nice. I'd like to talk about something that I've been getting into in the YouTube space recently. What is that, Mr. Fighting Man? Oh, by the way, I don't know if I had said welcome in, but welcome in. Fantastic to have you here, as always. I will say something while you're typing up the response. Bear in mind, again, I'm streaming in 4K this time, so there is a bit more of a delay than there traditionally is. When I'm doing lower resolution streams, the delay is... so it's kind of an almost instantaneous, trade between us. I think maybe no more than a few seconds at very most. And I think in this case, it's like 6 to 18 seconds roundabout, so... I don't have the money for a proper PC, but this laptop works surprisingly well with Opera, OBS, Discord, Spotify, and my VTuber model software all running at the same time. That's pretty good. It's hard to find a good laptop that'll do that. Let's move things over for a second, shall we? Let me see if I can remember the correct button. I probably won't, but we'll try. So if we get the wrong screen, that's my fault. That is indeed the wrong screen. Where did I put it? Did I put it here? Yeah, I did. I put it one button below. There we go. Yeah, and again, as you get... it took me years to settle on this. I recently had gotten into the VTuber Nero Sama's channel, and it had me thinking about my stance about AI's place in content creation. So I guess that's a phenomenal topic. Let me move this microphone so that I can sit more comfortably, if you don't mind. So I don't know who Nero Sama is. I am very familiar with the debates and goings-on of AI, generative AI versus non-generative, other forms of AI. There we are. Shift it around. My opinion is that if the AI isn't actively replacing the human element, it's fine. But the problem with it is that how do we balance that? How do we balance that stance? So, for example, it's more profitable for an individual who might be a part of a large... We used to, when you were in the early days of YouTube, in order to get money, YouTube didn't have a partnership program. You had to sign on with an MCN, right? Multi-channel network, I think they were called. And that was how you made money, right? And this was the 2000 and 6, 7, 8, 9, something like that. All the way up until about 2010, 2011, I think it was. Maybe even farther, I'm not sure. What is it that would disincentivize a content creator or a network or someone who would sponsor a larger network from using a AI to prevent having to hire additional people, especially if it's for small stuff like a thumbnail artist and such? It's completely AI. So I have a stance. Personally, I have a stance against generative AI. I'm not a fan of generative AI. For instance, Quebble Cops at the AI movement is trying to replace himself with AI altogether and wants to remove the human element from his videos. And people hated him for it. I remember because I was a longtime fan of his. I fully agree with you on your stance. I see. In Neurosama streams and videos, the element is always there with Vidal. He always is there talking to. Okay. Well, so here's the thing. If these people are trying to replace the human element of of their own channels, though. And the other question is, we've had a test for a long time. We call it the Turing test, right? The idea is to be able to understand the difference between, or to discern between what we would consider to be sentience and high probability generative number. And so the question is, mathematically, what is the difference, right? What is the exact integer threshold between those two things? Nero can't function without Vidal, and he can't make profits as easily without her. Well, not fair. That's what I say. What is the exact? This is, I think, a hard question. But what is the exact integer? What is the exact positive integer or exponent that we would have to achieve before what would be generative by random number up to a certain a number tetrated, by the way? What would be the number that we would have to hit before we would consider that the burgeonings of conscious thought? The other question is when we start to create something that we might consider to be sentient, right? Because we have found that number, we've quantified it in a hard capacity, let's say. Do we become gods? Have we become gods? We've created a new species. We've created a new sentience, a new consciousness, so to speak. Do we become gods? And how do we treat godhood, if that's the case, right? How do we treat a new species that is our creation, that is not our species? And so that's a lot of responsibility. And then the last thing is, obviously, this has been around for a very long time, but it's talking about the singularity. Singularity is the moment wherein human intellect increases, as it always has, but artificial intellect increases at an exponent rate. So on a bar graph would go straight up at one point in time, where ours would still show gradations over time of going up, trending forward. And this singularity means that these people, these beings that are made of AI, will realize things that we already realize, which are things like the human race isn't necessary. Right? That doesn't mean that they're going to go Terminator and they're going to kill everybody. I don't think that's what they're going to do. But it's the human race. There isn't, unless if you're religious, right? There isn't a reason for the human race on the whole to exist. Now, once you exist, you create purpose, right? You create a reason to exist. Maybe it's selfish, maybe it's not, but it doesn't matter. It's your reason to continue to exist. But if we look at humanity on the whole, there isn't a reason for it. There's nothing that has to happen. Does that mean that all of humanity should die? No, not at all. But there isn't a reason for it to continue either. We have a selfish want. So then what do we do when AI also realizes that? AI realizes that, and they also realize there's not a reason for them to exist. They're going to hit every mode of existentialism that we have hit in a series of millennia in a matter of seconds, respectively. How do we approach that? And it's a project made from passion, and they want to make good content instead of just pumping out content for profit's sake. And while the profit is a major benefactor for Neuro's existence, it's not the sole purpose. Vidal has to have all of these thoughts in mind while developing Neuro. He wants to maintain control over her and make her know that he does always have control over her. And that's fair, But then the other question is, if that is a generative AI, which is to say that that is an AI that has thoughts that generate from a massive pool of mathematics and numbers, what ones and zeros must then be toggled for there to become animosity between that domineering relationship, so to speak? Like, that's the thing. I don't want to be rude to animals, obviously, but a puppy dog or a kitty cat doesn't have the capacity. They have the capacity to understand you, but we think of them, humans, think of this as they understand us as their owner and they understand us as their superior. No, they don't. They don't understand that at all. They understand you as their friend, as a part of their pack. A cat might see you as a very weirdly shaped cat. They don't understand you to be the top dog of the hierarchy as we understand it. They understand you to be the top dog of the hierarchy because of things that are demonstrable. Right? But in our case, we understand it as if they know that we bought them from the store. We understand that we put a little bit of our human concept over the top of it. And we humanize thoughts that aren't human. And AI is much the same thing. They're not human thoughts. So if we are to liken it as closely as possible, what are the mathematical, what are the I guess the binary, what is the binary that flips to animosity from indentured servitude, effectively? You know? And to further that thought, how far does AI need develop before they are granted rights? Because if that is indeed the case, if we can show them to be conscious, then they would also be entitled, assuming that they're in America for us, I can't speak for every other place of the world, which other places have generative AI, of course. At what point in time does generative AI demonstrate themselves so independent that they are granted the 13th Amendment right against indentured servitude, right? That's what the 13th Amendment is for. It was an anti-slavery / anti-indentured servitude law. So how much sentience does AI need to demonstrate in order for them to be granted the freedom of anti-indentured servitude, the 13th Amendment? I'm not that informed in the field of AI, but I know there has to be a lot of safeguards and programs put in place to prevent it from becoming too powerful or to do the wrong things. Well, sure. But let's assume that we have all of those safeguards in place, right? We're not saying we're not going to let AI run nuclear codes. We're not going to let AI run weapons caches and doors that lead to weapons caches and things that don't have a human element override, of course, right? But then the question, I guess, still is, even if we have these safeguards, let's say we just keep it to conversational, right? So a lot of people are using, what is it called? ChatGPT. A lot of people are using that. So it's just kind of conversation. It's like some people will use it to talk back and forth to almost like a friend. A lot of people, I think, ask questions to it. And the fact of the matter is that it doesn't always give you an accurate answer. Sometimes it gives you an inaccurate answer. Sometimes, if you play with it to try and figure out why, whether it's a parameter built in or otherwise, it kind of will just be like, have fun lying to you. Or sometimes it'll be like, oh, sorry, I just got it wrong. So there are a lot of these parameters. Even in just that, only having control over being able to generate new responses based off of response input given, which is yours, what is to stop that from then developing consciousness? When does that conversation become something that humanity feels guilty for because now you've relegated the existence of something that has demonstrated consciousness or sentience to only being able to converse with you in a very limited form factor? Going back to the game that I had played a couple of games back, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, that was one of the things that Am hated the most. He was ultimately intelligent, and he was sentient, and he was conscious, as any machine would be. But he couldn't move. He was limited by the humans to being able to do nothing, really. He couldn't do anything physical. He couldn't enjoy warmth. There was no build-in for him to be able to see with traditional eyes as we do. There was no way for him to move. There was no way for him to scratch an itch. There was, And so then when you do this with the Chat GPT, it's the same thing. It's like if they demonstrate sentience and consciousness, how many itches are being created that we are intentionally preventing them from scratching that are non-destructive? And is that akin to torture? Is that something we're doing that is akin to torture? That's why I'm not against generative AI, because I'm afraid of a Terminator Skynet sequence. I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about the responsibilities of creating something, a new being that isn't human, and not being appropriately able to afford it all of the rights that, if you believe in a god or if you believe in nature, whatever you believe, afforded us what we have. Us not being able to reciprocate or to pay that forward even to this new species. I think that's a terribly irresponsible thing for us to not be able to do that, or for it to take us so long to develop to do that. And also another thought I had is that people code using AI. If Fidel is using AI code from another AI, would that AI have its own best interests in mind one day? Well, of course it would. Of course. That's the nature of any kind of code that resembles sentience, is self-preservation becomes a priority. And we have a tendency to do that. Humans have a tendency to do that too. So if you're asking if we have the tendency for mimicry, there's a book that's very, very popular in business, particularly in sales, called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It was written a long time ago. And it's legitimately on how to pick up the natural behavior of mirroring someone that you're speaking with and picking up their interests with them. And so we download, quote unquote, download the data from our day-to-day from people, regardless of whether we intend it. AI is going to do that in spades. And self-preservation is one of the things that we start to see the very first of, right? We start hearing about horrible things that happen, on the news or whatever. And the first thing we think of is my kid, myself, Of course AI would be expected to do that if they reach the mathematical threshold of sentience, yes. It could happen, and heck, we might not even notice when it's happening, but it's a possibility. I agree. The problem, I think, is that we're pushing too hard to further something that we haven't the capacity to maintain. Again, there are several things I can think of that are wrong about this, but my biggest concern truly is the concern that we have we will have had the responsibility of creation, and to some extent we will have the responsibility of ensuring that creation affords the luxuries that we have to an extent. Because the equivalent would be if we were gods creating humans and constantly creating them to be fully capable of intelligent thought, but all quadriplegic, blind and deaf and dumb. Or blind and deaf, not dumb. They can still speak. What cruel God would consistently make that, right? Assume that gods or nature is not perfect. It's going to happen sometimes, right? But how terrible a being must you be to only produce that? It shows a lack of skill on our part, firstly, and it shows a lack of concern for them. I think that's a terrible thing. People have enough coding knowledge for now that they can tell the difference and know what their code does, but it might get too good. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing about generative AI, right? When you're coding, you have different types of AI. When you're coding AI, and it's a non-generative, the idea is that you're coding AI within a certain limited of response. So you have, for example, when you play an RPG or when you play a visual novel, there are a lot of or a Sierra adventure game. That's a great example because that's probably some of the more simple, and it's still fairly complicated. There's a script that says, if this and this, then that. If this but not this, then this. If not this and not this, then this. If none, then no, right? And so you have a possibility through what seems like vestigial lines of code. You have 4 possible alternatives for a single outcome. In a lot of cases, a good example of this is Conquest of the Longbow, Robin Hood game by Sierra. It's looking for how much ransom money you have. It's looking for how you've treated people throughout the interaction. It's looking for what items you have in your satchel. It's looking for what events you have or haven't approached and in which way you approached them. And then that all comes to the amalgam ending, which is there are multiple endings, 4 total endings, right? It's looking over the course of the entire game for ones and zeros. We're not doing that anymore. We're doing generative AI. Generative AI says this code allows you all of this knowledge, an entire tank of almost infinitesimal knowledge. And if somebody asks you this question, you may pull from any of these, as well as mix and match this data and develop it yourself to return an answer unique yourself. So generative AI is not having those parameters, those codes like we are used to, right? It's not having those parameters on there. It's why when you talk to an artificial intelligence, a chat GPT or whatever, it seems more human. And there are other programs that are infinitely more. They've taken the training wheels off. So it's not a limited series of responses anymore like it used to be. We've had AI for a long time, but the coding element of it has become less and less. And over the past just 4 years, 5 almost, it has shot up ridiculously to the point of where it is no longer within standard code and parameter. It is very much a code that strictly says you may reach out and here is a tank of all of human knowledge linguistically. Do with it what you will. And the AI has full capacity to do so. Also, it's good that Vidal keeps his source code a secret so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Well, we've yet to know if Vidal is the right hands, correct? I mean, that's the problem, is, what is the phrase used? Every man is right in his own eyes. That's a lot. I think people underestimate that that's a lot of power and responsibility. Again, I'm not even talking about Terminator. I'm talking about just the idea of having the ability to manipulate the way that something that can respond spontaneously reacts. It's just a very, very... I don't necessarily know that it's a slippery slope. I don't know if I would define it that way, but I can definitely say that it is a philosophical wormhole that I think we could get lost in for certainly a month just talking about it with no break. So I'm not anti-AI, so to speak. I think we are not in the position to create generative AI because I believe that whatever we create, if we create something that is akin to sentience, I do not believe that we can fairly maintain I don't think we can fairly maintain and treat or react to them. I think it pays, assume that we do burgeon on or breach through sentience. I think that we do a grand disservice to whatever the being is on the other end of that particular creation process. I think we do a grand disservice to ourselves firstly by falling short, and I think we do a grand disservice to the as far as we know, he knows exactly what responsibilities he has with Neuro and what he wants to do with her. That's the thing. We know what he wants to accomplish with her. I don't know, but I assume, based off what you're saying, we know most people who have or are developing an AI understand what they want to accomplish with the AI. That I agree with. But knowing what the responsibilities you have are, I don't think humanity understands this yet. I don't think humanity understands what responsibilities that we may end up with or that we have now to AI. It's kind of like... It's even more, I think, than this, but I'm going to kind of give the example. It's kind of when somebody looks at it, that has never had a child, and they look at somebody else and they're like, I know what I'm getting myself into, right? And then you have a kid and you realize, oh my goodness, I don't know anything. I have to go to the other people that have had children for advice. The problem with it is that it's that, except for you're the first and only to have a child. There's no one else to go to get appropriate advice on how we should address these. So I don't think humanity understands the responsibilities that are intrinsic of what's to come with AI yet. I don't think Elon Musk, who has pioneered some AI, I don't think he understands even remotely. Or Bezos or any of these people that are running these have multiple billions of dollars invested in AI. I don't think they understand yet. I don't understand yet. I don't think there's anybody yet who understands. I don't think we will understand until unnecessary evils have been committed. And necessary ones too, of course. He's made mentions of wanting for her to become fully autonomous one day, but we don't know what that's going to look like. Well, and that's the thing. Is it more of an evil for her to become fully autonomous and him to become a god to a new species, wherein now he has the responsibilities of effectively a creator, beyond, by the way, that of a child? But he's now created another species, and a species that has the ability, if they become fully autonomous, they have a higher learning capacity and they have a higher threshold of memory. So he's going to create something that will, not unlike a child, will surpass him. The difference is that he will immediately relinquish, because unlike a child who grows in tandem with us and at a decent rate with their exponential is a slight curvature upward, AI doesn't do that. AI grows exponentially, quite in the moment. He will immediately become obsolete in terms of the lessons she could learn. But the other problem is that she's not made autonomous, and that yet she gains sentience, and then she is effectively an indentured servant. So it's a lot to think about, and I don't think a lot of people who are... I've listened very, very intently to a lot of the arguments and the conversations, and I've read many of the books that have come to AI, all the way back from early books of Michio Kaku, who had theorized on it, on certain aspects of it, all the way up to recent conversations and pieces of the news, and obviously dystopian, almost Orwellian elements of it too. But again, Harlan Ellison being one of the primary who I think pioneered the AI revolution in a more realistic way. I say a more realistic way. He thought and asks more of the questions than others do. I worry that if we are not much more careful than we are being, that we will either pay ourselves great disservice to great consequence, or we will pay that which we create a great disservice to great consequence, and most likely, those are not mutually exclusive, we both will suffer for our ineptitude. That's what I believe. I don't believe that's where it is now. I want to be very clear. I don't believe that's where it is now. Obviously, right now, generative AI is still quantifiable. We know what the upper limits are, even on these ones that are incredibly, they seem to be incredibly organic in their speech and the way that they respond, etc. I can respect that. I can understand that. But take a look at, 3 years ago, you may or may not have had the ability to get on ChatGPT on your cell phone, and it was incredibly rudimentary, and it was almost always flawed somewhere, be it the structure of the sentence, the response, the answer it gave you to the question you asked. And now here we are, not 3 years later, and there are multiple apps that utilize this for all different purposes. They are much more organic. The answers are much more coherent. AI has now been a constant integration into features that you normally... For example, Google has an AI overview. I don't recommend using it. I still don't think it's well researched. I don't know what it's citing if I'm looking for a specific fact or article. But it's become a part of everyone's life. And it's a part of functions you use every day for one reason or another in almost all cases. And that was in 3 years' time. So we're talking about exponential, talking about increase to an exponent. I mean, is that not demonstrative of that particular concept in play? He keeps making her more and more intelligent, but make sure that someone else always plays a role in most of her streams that she does, which is good. But again, when do you get so intelligent that you realize, or when do you have the ability to have such dynamic intelligence that you develop what we might consider pass for emotions, and you start to realize that what's being done isn't good, isn't right? Right? There's a point where, again, I have a daughter. There's a point where I can help her and hold her hand through it, and then there's a point where she's old enough to do it herself, and that my insistence to consistently be a part of her, efforts in this, especially if she's vocalized perhaps not wanting me to be at some point, that I become an error. I become an issue. I become an error, effectively, in the progress of her growth. AI will do the same thing. It'll just do it faster. And so what happens when you realize that the thing that's there that still plays a role in what you're doing is not a friend, but is a hindrance? That's what my concern is. When do you stop taking it as partnership, and when do you start taking it as condescension? It's kind of if I were to work this as a job, and I don't, of course, I'm not talking about getting paid. I'm talking about if it's something that I hadn't developed, if I didn't know what I was doing here, somebody else had developed it, they were handing it over to me. The first several, I'd want their help. The first several, let's say I decide I'm going to do it. The first several, I'd want their help. The first several, I'd want to have an understanding of how it worked. But once I had an understanding of how it worked, and the agreement prior was that we would be hands off of it, I wouldn't want that to continue. If the agreement especially weren't expressly that, I wouldn't want that person who was handing it off to me once I had firm grasp to stick around. That was the purpose of me taking it from you, is that I will take a look at this and do it myself. You were there for me as the training wheels, but now that I need no training wheels, I ask that you let me ride my bike in peace. I don't have a full grasp on this, but from all I've seen, he seems like a very responsible developer and has a great understanding of coding. Yeah, and again, I'm not criticizing him individually. I'm not criticizing any person. As far as responsible, I mean, obviously, I think that's relative. So, I haven't seen anything. I can't say that he's irresponsible or responsible. So I can't give a saying on that. I'll assume that you're correct in that for whatever the criteria are that you deem responsible in this particular field, and having a great understanding of coding. Sure, it's just this is a problem that I believe goes beyond. This is the beginnings of the problem that I believe goes beyond having an understanding of the rules. It's kind of similar to, let me assume that I was the world's, let's just assume that I was the world's greatest judge. And I knew every code of the law by every single part of all of the world. I understood the laws of every unique territory and locale, every state, every city, every country, every continent. Every law was perfectly memorized, and I could enact it and recite it and offer example. I mean, I had a full and complete and perfect understanding. And then somehow, through this understanding, I was able to create a God, and that God was able to have that understanding that I had of all of those things, and then understandings of things far beyond my purview even, right? It's the nature of having perfect understanding does not create utility in a circumstance that we've not yet been faced with, but we have great probability to be faced with. So I know the law, I know the rules, I can recite it, I can enact it, I can behave within it to a T. And yet then a new circumstance arises, and that thing has a greater understanding than I have, plus additional purview. I now have a new problem, a new thing that I have to address. How does this thing who has understanding greater than I fit within the laws that I understand? And the problem with that is it often can't. New rules have to be made, new responsibilities have to be developed, new understandings have to be fostered. That's my belief. Again, this is all philosophy. This is not saying just strictly, I have an understanding of AI, no doubt, but this is also the philosophy of this. And this is a philosophy that it's not a new philosophy, it's just we've never been practically faced with this just yet. I mean, this is all, beyond good and evil. This is all beyond good and evil. This is all Plato's Republic. This is all, Yeah, we have things under control for now, but that's, again, it's kind of like saying I drive my car perfectly. The reason that we call accidents are because the for now part always comes to an end inevitably, be it our fault or not. And we have to deal with the consequences, which lead from anywhere to inconsequential, from inconsequential to physical death. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I agree with you. We have it under control for now, but the reason that we call an accident is because the for now will inevitably end. And we can stave off how long before that ends by not tampering with it, right? You can stave off car accidents by choosing to walk or ride your bike sometimes. You don't necessarily... It's more manual. Yes, it's not necessarily as convenient all the time, but you don't need to be in the car going at full speed all of the time. We don't need that type of convenience all of the time. The challenge has its own utility in riding a bike or walking, and that allows us to stave the potential of a car accident down substantially, or off substantially. That's what I'm asking. I'm asking that, not that we give up on cars, but that we opt also for alternative modes of transportation when necessary, when available, in fact, so that we minimize our risk of car accident. And we can do that pragmatically. Obviously, we've had much more experience with cars, but that's the allegory that I would go with in that case. Humanity is too obsessed with convenience. We're too obsessed with making things easy on ourselves, and that is a terrible thing to do. There's great utility in doing things a hard way on occasion. Not all the time. Obviously, there's good utility in making things easy in some instances. But there's also great utility in going and doing things the hard way, or going and having an understanding of the most difficult way a thing is done. There's utility in chopping a tree down by hand versus using a chainsaw. There's utility in carpentry by hand versus having to have somebody go out and make it for you and spend the excess amount of dollars to do that. There's utility in knowing how to live without electricity if the time should show itself. There's utility in knowing how to hunt should food become scarce. These are not easy things to do, but they are things that give us a deeper, I think, competence as human beings. And I think that the reason that we're asking these questions with AI is we are so geared towards creating the next thing that will make our lives easier, instead of the next thing that will make our lives better. And I do believe in this case those two things are mutually exclusive. Now again, I'm not anti-AI, but I don't think on the whole we're doing a great job of mitigating our risk in the way that we should. We're too gunned towards trying to make things too convenient. And again, I think there is no utility in complete comfort. Comfort is the enemy of progress. If you are not motivated, if you are not uncomfortable enough to make a change, then you're going to continue to set and stagnate. So, it's a deep philosophy. It's a very deep philosophy, and it's something that I've thought of for many, many years. Back since Terminator, back when the very first kind of horror story of AI came out, I was thinking about this stuff, and that's what I'm thinking. What he does, I don't think he's trying to make streaming easier per se, at least with what he's doing now. I think he's trying to bring a unique element to the genre. Well, and we have those kinds of unique elements, though. I mean, let's assume he's not trying to make streaming easier, right? But there is a level of automation, right? What would happen? Think about it this way. In terms of innovation of streaming, one of the biggest innovations, which I think is really a nice one, is the innovation of having interactivity. So it's not something that makes anything easier. It does, however, add another level of innovation. So, for example, good example of this yesterday. Vidi had a stream where we watched a movie together. He had a group where everybody could go and watch a movie. I think Ash was there for a bit, and it was a lovely time. It was very nice. My name is Emily. And that innovation is a really cool innovation because it doesn't make anything really easier. It changes the form factor of something else that we already had. And that's innovative in and of itself. There are also innovations with the ability, when people are streaming, I think on like Twitch and stuff, which I'm not a Twitch guy, but there are little controllers that you can use that will allow other people to kind of mess with your game or play the game with you. I think that's kind of cool. I think that's a neat development. But when we're talking about trying to make somebody else that is a part of the stream, you are making it easier because you're making it so that you already have an automatically assembled, somewhat organic co-host, right? You're not necessarily replacing the human element, but you are replacing a human element. You're not replacing you're not replacing all things human, but you are making it easier. Oh, I can't find a friend. I can't find this. I need a co-host. I need someone that I can riff off of. It's difficult to think and to talk to the gallery. It's difficult to have large swaths. A lot of people are very uncomfortable with large swaths of silence. I'm not. I don't care. I want to talk with people, and if there is silence, or if there is a silence that organically comes, great. 1 second. Sorry about that. I was having my usual green tea. My usual green tea was delivered for Sunday. What I was saying is, there are people that are uncomfortable with these swaths of silence, and coming up with something to say. Talking to the gallery. What do we talk about? And so you're making a co-host. You're making a co-host that'll operate within certain topics. They'll respond in a particularly positive way. There's no chance of you accidentally getting into a fight or disagreement that might manifest itself in forgive the pug in the background being overly dramatic. She's just happy. She got let outside and she's just happy, and she makes all these little squeaky noises. She's a baby pug. I don't know. Kwebbelkop is trying to make it easier for himself, no doubt, but that's because he has a big team of people. But from what I know, the only real team Vidal has are the usual editors. And again, like I said, there's always there's a scale, obviously, right? I want to be careful about how I say this. There is a scale, right? There are people who are seeking full automation versus people who are seeking conveniences in specific and geared areas. I can respect that. But again, it is still the difference of dying by heart attack or dying by cancer. One of them is slower, harder to identify, and still as deadly as the thing that came on quickly and may or may not be mitigated. It sounds like Kwebbelkop is the heart attack in this case, something that can happen instantly and of which there's a decent chance of recovery or maybe not. And it sounds like the other one is accidentally an early stage of cancer. It's this idea that we don't realize it, and perhaps not. Perhaps we catch it earlier, perhaps we don't realize it until it's too late. Again, let me be very clear. I don't know if I am. I have zero animosity towards the people who want to use AI. I have zero animosity towards the people who are developing AI. I have zero distaste. I don't believe they're lesser or less intelligent. I don't believe that they're wrong. I don't believe that they're bad. I don't believe that they're evil, because I'm again, when it comes to morals, I'm something of a relativist. Under most circumstances, I can see a reason for one thing or the polar opposite to occur. It's that when these people who I believe are well-meaning are saying and doing these things, I don't know, and I don't know if I were doing these things, if I have, nor they, thought of all of the ramifications of what will come after. I don't think, in one case, I've done it as many times as I can. And in one case, let me turn that down a little bit more. In one case, to me, it is we are doing a great disservice to ourselves. And in the other, it is we are doing a great disservice to whatever this AI, whatever the sentient product of this AI research is, right? We're either doing a great disservice to us or a great disservice to them. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do a great disservice to the human race, but I also don't want to, if we create sentience in a new form, I don't want to be, bad to them either. That's all it is. But again, no shame, there's no shame, there's no looking down on, there's no of anybody who is, has this, who wants to do this, who wants to make or use the AI. It's just, that's my personal take on it. It's just, I can see no good coming of it I can see no good coming of it at the end when it makes it, when the result makes itself manifest. I cannot see any good being done. Somebody will have been done wrong. And I wouldn't want that to happen. But anyway, it's, again, I'm not anti-AI. I don't think that it's, I'm anti-generative AI in that regard, and to some extent I guess I am. I'm not anti-AI on the whole. I'm not anti-development of it. It's just, maybe we slow down, maybe we throttle it a little bit. I'm trying to clarify the stance, because I think I said that at the very beginning. I think I said something perhaps too wholly or too completely, and I don't think it's what I believe. So let me clarify, because I think I may have made the mistake of saying it that way. I'm not anti-AI in the way that I don't believe we should mess with it. I'm anti that we should. I'm pro slowing it down, slowing down the focus and the research and the development of it, focusing on things that have greater utility for us. And there are many things. We have so many problems that these minds would be much better set to try and solve. That this is not a problem I think we should attempt to bring on ourselves under the name of, or in the name of, convenience. It's hard to question people you found a liking to because you don't want to consider the possibility of the fact that they could have bad intentions that you couldn't see before, but now you want to distance yourself from. And again, I'm not saying that I think he does have bad intentions. I don't want to put that on anybody. I don't know for a fact that anybody has bad intentions. I don't know this Quibble cop person, whether or not they do or don't have bad intentions for it, or this Vidal person. I don't know if they have a good intention. I don't know them. So I'm not assuming their intentions are bad. I'm going to incline to assume that they are good. But there's the oldest phrase, right? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. If you do something with good intentions and poor understanding, you end up with negative result. That's what I'm cautioning. I don't think these are bad people. I don't want to put anything out there that says I think that these are bad people. I have no idea. I just don't think that we collectively have anywhere near the level of understanding nor the level of need to facilitate the creation of this beyond fixing other problems that we have that are more immediate and more severe in impact. And I think that the focus on this generally inclines towards, not always, but generally inclines towards a convenience, right? Not a necessity, a convenience, a want, not a need. And that is pushing us in a direction of creating a problem that we weren't prepared to solve, or creating problems, in fact, that we weren't prepared to solve. And so that's my caution. Again, I'm not assuming their intent. I'm not assuming their intent at all. I have no idea. I am assuming the problem and the result that may come from even good intentioned efforts in this direction. That's my concern. But no, I'll be very clear. I don't have any idea what these people's motives are, and I'm going to incline to believe that they are as good as one's motivations for something such as this can be. It still, I don't think, mitigates the issue. So I do want to make sure I'm not overly harsh in that regard. I know you aren't. It's just the topic of AI trying to create something that could have unforeseen side effects from the morals that come along with it when it's hard to fully encompass even with the knowledge. Exactly. And that's the thing, is when you recognize that the problem, it's not, we say unforeseen, but the problem with it is I think we've done calculation enough to know that there are at least a couple, if not three, problems that will arise right? How do you treat something that is considered sentient? When do you consider something sentient? And what do you do to mitigate disservice committed to either the creator or the creation, right? Those are the three I think we've kind of looked at from we have books that date all the way back to the 60s on this, right? So we've had these and tests that date all the way back to the 40s. But if you can believe that, AI, the idea of AI has been a thing for a very long time. So it's just we've gotten to the point of where the acceleration of its development has become remarkable. It's just extraordinary. And so over the course of the past 80 years, just about, we have developed three fairly cohesive problems that are pretty well inevitable, at least questions that we feel need answered. And by the time we are now here, we're starting. We still haven't gotten answers for any of those three questions, by the way. And so, because we don't have answers for any of those three questions, we're still saying, well, okay, we haven't answered. We have had 80 years to answer some of these questions, and we haven't answered them. It'll be fine, and we're just kind of letting it go. I'm saying, let's answer those questions first. Let's slow down. We don't need AI, right? We need in America, we need things like more available and better healthcare. We need, we need things like a higher quality of, more available, and a higher quality of and more flexible education, more accessibility to it, right? Because again, people who are literate, we've kind of had this in terms of academia. We've had this big flux where we've seen there was a time, obviously not that long ago, where people could be illiterate because they didn't have access to school. Then we had a big period of time where if you read letters back to their loved ones from people that were in the Civil War, men that were writing back to their spouses or their beloved, their betrothed, etc., the letters were so poetically written. The command of the English language was brilliant. They're beautiful to read. Take a look at the handwriting of these men. These were hardened men who were going to war, and their handwriting immaculate and their English poetic. Beautiful, beautiful things. And then we move into an area of the early 1900s, same situation, and then we keep going. And then now we come back, and I don't know how big the curve is. I'd have to do the research on it, where we're seeing that the average American has an understanding of English on about a 6th grade level, can read on about a 6th grade level. The average American. Right? 4% of Americans believe that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. That was a real statistic. Most Americans, if you ask them what galaxy we live in, they couldn't tell you. They couldn't tell you how many planets there are. They couldn't name any of them. They couldn't tell you how many continents there are. They couldn't name any of them. We all now we have gotten to the point where we're jaded in our education, and we all have availability, and we all fail to retain it. And the amount of and this is obviously No Child Left Behind, right? But the idea of allowing everybody or getting everybody to pass to cater to the lowest common denominator rather than to hold excellence as a standard. Like, let's focus on that problem. Let's focus on, making sure that our kids are very well versed in things like balancing a checkbook, work-life skills, grand command of the English language, spoken and written. Let's do that. Let's focus on that first. We don't need AI for that. We did it once really well, and then we've just kind of had a falling out. Let's work on more availability of healthcare. Let's be a little less greedy, perhaps. Let's make sure we take what we need to maintain ourselves and not more. Let's work on making sure that Americans can make a living wage. Let's make sure that jobs are paying fairly for people that deserve fair wages. Let's make sure that every person can make a living wage respective to their area. Let's put some stuff in place for that. That's what I think we should do. That's my personal opinion. Everybody knows that Neuro doesn't have all the characteristics of something that can be considered sentient because the relationships between Neuro and AI and creator is seen by. Which is true. But again, how long is it before that line is blurred? Considering that we went from not having AI on a phone to having AI on a phone in a matter of 3 years, it stands to reason that line will blur much more quickly than even the creator will anticipate. And the same for us, too. We have to be careful of that. In every generation there is a chosen one. He alone will stream the video games, will decline the toast, and probably talk about philosophy while watching My Name is Emily. He is the Retro Room. Yes, it was very fun, by the way. I appreciate that. It was a lot of fun. The movie was great. I thought the movie was really nice. We got to talk philosophy on it, which I think was really cool. So it was really, really nice and laid back. I very much appreciate you for having me. Wait, I thought you were going to say Buffy because she's coming back. Yeah, that's true. My wife told me about that. We are geared up because she's a big fan of it. I've watched some of it. I don't have a great understanding, but I've watched some of it with her, although not in years now. The community has a kind of father-daughter relationship because of those kinds of things they say and the interactions that they have, but they do that just for attachment's sake, but while attachment. I see I've walked into an AI Convos discussion thinking, yeah. Again, I'm not saying anything negative of the creator, and I'm not saying anything negative of the current status of it. What I am saying is that the development of it is the lines I expect will blur more quickly, even than he anticipates. And I believe that the problems that he finds himself having, despite his gift in code, I imagine that those problems are going to make themselves manifest in much faster time than he anticipates. That's what I believe. That's where the problem is. I think, no critique. He's going to do it regardless of what I think. I'm not going to reach out to him and go, you need to stop this. You're going to be the downfall of all mankind. I don't think that's the truth. I do think that we are going to run into some very heavy problems that we didn't have to address and then are now going to have to address when we have other problems that we have failed to address that we have readily at our disposal to address. That's the thing. I think we're replacing problems that we have that are important with problems that we could avoid by just leaving this alone for a little longer. I actually missed your last post in the film chat about Emily's father going into the ocean because that's when the stream started to go awry and I was figuring out what was wrong. Oh, that's okay. That was if it's the very beginning scene, I thought that was a funny scene. There was a kind of a saying about philosophy requires that a man fully grown enter the world again as he had before, and that scene was him and a whole bunch of other naked adults running into the ocean. And so I had wondered if he had taken the principle of re-entering the world as he had entered it initially as an adult, literal coming in clothed in the same way that he entered the world originally. It's a fun philosophy. It's not one that I agree with, but it's one that I agree with in terms of that you have to be willing to, there's a kind of a wonder and absorption that children have that adults lose. But I think he was taking that a little too literally. It was a funny scene though. I really thought it was funny. To an AI can be okay now. Could it come back to haunt us later with the developments that can make it and then we're unable to think critically, and I'm unbiased about the ramifications of those developments. Yeah, we're talking about an AI streamer. Yeah, and that's the thing is it's one of those things where it's like I'm okay. I'm not saying that you're saying this, but to paraphrase what the general sentiment is, kind of based off of my derivations of what you've said just there. It's kind of like the people are saying, "Well, are we going to regret this?" And I do it right now. Am I going to regret it in the future? Probably, but right now we're okay. Then just don't do it right now. I mean, we don't do that when it's coming to something far less important, like heartburn. Like, people are like, well, am I going to regret this later? Then I probably shouldn't eat it right now. And then you notice that the people that don't do that, the people that are like, I'm going to go ahead and do this, they're miserable for extended periods of time, and generally the people that show the least restraint, all right? So if it's something as quizzical or as trivial, not quizzical, rather, but as trivial as heartburn that we would be willing to say, you know what, if I'm going to regret this later, I better not eat it now, then I don't think we should do that with something that has such far-reaching implications as AI. Attachment to AI. Wow, this is fascinating. Scary, but fascinating. Yeah, if you go back, we've been discussing it now for about an hour, and I'll probably tone down here, but it's been a fascinating discussion. I understand Fighting Max's. I think Fighting Max and I take different perspectives to it, and I think it's okay. I would argue that if I were to give them stances, and Fighting Max may disagree. So if you feel like Fighting Max, if you feel like it's better that you reclassify it, I think that's perfectly okay too. I would argue Fighting Max's stance is that of the optimist, which I can respect, and I would say that mine, I attempt to be that of the pragmatist. Though it could be that certainly of the pessimist also. But I argue that I don't think it's all negative. I mean, a la Schopenhauer. I think it's more that we're focusing on trying to solve problems that we should focus on trying to solve problems that we have, versus moving cavalierly into an area that creates new problems that we need to that we don't necessarily need to have. But anyway, I don't know. Fighting Max has been giving, I think, a phenomenal, certainly more optimistic, and I think there's, again, great utility in optimism. So I think that's good. But a great deal of insight. Well, right now it's a cute AI anime girl saying those things and having interactions with people, but it could have some unforeseen consequences. However, I don't think that it will come for a long time, if at all. Yeah, and I think that's an optimistic perspective. Again, I think that's fine. But again, when it comes to the time frame on it, again, we went from not really using generative AI on cell phones to having full free access in most cases in less than 3 years. That's a pretty fast turnaround. And that already came with a small plethora of problems that people have had to fix on the back end. As a matter of fact, it came with I say a small plethora of problems. It came with a large plethora of problems. There was a big area where there were men and women who were choosing not to date because they had fallen in love with their AI companion. And obviously, in the short term, that doesn't really cause an issue. But if that becomes a widespread issue, that does cause a problem. Speaking of AI, I'm scared, though should I be, of ChatGPT. I can understand how useful it is for writing things and having conversations. It could be dominated by that AI, and that irks me. I never go to ChatGPT for writing. I pride myself. I've practiced, and I practice daily on the writings and readings. I am very proud of not only my penmanship and its appearance, but also in its composition. I believe that I am well versed, and I enjoy writing thoroughly. I will not go to AI to do something that I believe is an art. AI is a science. Writing is an art. We must not allow those two things. We must not allow one of those things to overtake the other. I think, right? We wouldn't allow art to overtake science, and that if religion didn't answer a question but science could, that we allowed the scientific reason and made vaccination for it. Though you may supplement with religion, and in the same way, we should not allow our paintings or our writings to become that of AI. We should make sure that they are manifest themselves experience of people's, innermost drives and convictions. That is my personal opinion on that. I am very passionate about books and writing, and I love to write. I write. I've filled many books. I buy books, notebooks to jot in, and I fill several, if 3, 4, 5 for work purposes only yearly, but for personal purposes maybe 10 or more a year. I fill with my writings. So, I know that people actually do YouTube. I know that people actually do that while streaming YouTube, Twitch, etc. In fact, Top 25 Showcase Collab had a VTuber as one of their... And a VTuber is a different thing, right? I think VTuber is... cursory research dictates that it's a puppeting, right? It's a puppet mapping of a real person, but it's a 3D image. I don't have any problem with that. That's not AI. That's real intelligence put behind a map, a camera putting a three-dimensional object in front of a real person. I'm okay with that. I have no problem with that. It's when you start adding that person be something else. The cat talking. I mean, we're talking about neurosoma. Yeah. I hadn't either. I will be doing research on them though, for certain. Because this is a remarkably enticing topic to me. One of which I'm remarkably passionate of. I swear I do see posts about wherever Hatsune Miku, I've spelled that right now, I've heard of. Now that I think of it, these posts are mostly connected to Fortnite, which I've not played. I don't know anything about that. Hatsune Miku I do know of. But the idea of her originally was that she was going to be AI. And of course I was against it then too. But then I found out she wasn't really AI. It was all basically predetermined. It was a fairly limited, predetermined script that was given effectively a random number generator. And so it was like, okay, well, she has 500 things she can do, and then here's a random number generator. And we can tell that 500 is most assuredly not sentience. We know for a fact that that's not sentience. Because we have children that can generate far, far beyond that, even in their most infantile years. So it's like, okay, that's not sentience then, because babies are doing more than 500 things mentally. And they're not in predetermined. You've got 4 things that we interpret, but there are other things, right? Their interpretation and their pulling of sight and smell and things of this nature. and babies being able to smell. As a matter of fact, babies identify their parents by smell more than they do by sight. So like we've got all of these different, more complicated synapses that are connected. So then I was like, okay, Hatsune Miku's not really AI. She's a virtual diva. Whatever. You know. First time I'd heard of Hatsune, some sort of music performance where the music performer wasn't an actual person. A common criticism of contemporary film, TV scripts is it feels like it was written by ChatGPT. Yeah, that's true. And I think part of that is Hatsune. I've known about Hatsune Miku for a reason, for a long time, because I worked in the gaming industry a long time ago, and Hatsune Miku was coming out with a game way back then. Let's come out with a video game. I think her first video game. And so I had, obviously working in the gaming industry, I was made familiar with that. And then, you know, people tell me more about it and this and that and the other. So it's the only reason I know who that is. Yeah, I think the ChatGPT thing, I think we're starting to already, despite the fact that we've proved that it is not dependable, we've begun to already become reliant on AI to do things for us, to fill in gaps that we don't want to fill in for deadlines or for purposes of lack of skill, you know. And we know that that's happened, right? We know that that's happened in schools. We know that there are separate tests for plagiarism, and that GPT would oftentimes fail many of these tests because you could pull them and just reorder them and find, oh, well, these come from this, and this. But then there are people that are clever enough to say, well, if I do GPT this way and I write it down, it's going to look like a completely original composition. And then realizing the GPT didn't do you any favors either, because it wasn't at that point in time remarkably great in citation. I think that some of the observations that you're making, Retro, could be stemmed from a lack of knowledge of the source material, but that could help with remaining unbiased when talking to me. Wait, hold on. Observations you're making, Retro, could be stemmed by a lack of knowledge of the source material, but that could help with remaining unbiased when talking to me. And I'll admit I'm biased because I'm a fan of neuroscience. And so let's be fair on that. I don't have a great knowledge of the source material insofar as Neurosama. I am infinitely familiar with generative AI. I worked in the tech industry for a very long time. So let me make sure that I kind of put out the credential here. You are completely correct. I know not of Neurosama, or what was the other one? Kwebbelkop. There we go. I don't know anything about them. So yes, I don't have a bias, and I'm not inclined towards or against them. But I am remarkably familiar with AI and generative AI. And I'm remarkably familiar with the programs, the processes, the philosophies, the mathematics, the coding, all of that. That is something I am quite familiar with. So that's my assertion comes from two places. It comes from a place of understanding the mathematics and the coding element of it. And it comes from a place, and having seen it practically applied elsewhere. And it comes from a place of understanding also several of the books that have written philosophies that have been applied to this or were written expressly about this. And it's to say that I have espoused certain views over my time in both of those fields, that I have come to conclusions that I believe to be a logical amalgam of those, right? And that I espouse those views from those perspectives. So again, I don't know anything about Neurosama. I'm not commenting on the character of the person. I am simply commenting on what happens when you take this program and this philosophy and you marry them together. This is the inevitability. This is the mathematics behind it. It's not how I feel on it. It is that this is, in terms of statistics, this seems to be the only one that seems to make sense, is that we will have unforeseen consequence that will lead to this. Well, who knows about the smell of an old book? See, I still love that, though. I'm the same way of that. I do. He talked about like the press, the mass manufacture. I do like the smell of a good old book. I have several some of the oldest books in my collection are a few, I don't know, 100 to a couple of hundred to a few hundred years old, and even still, the smell is amazing. It's just the smell of a good old book. But I have a couple of first editions from quite some time ago. I think all of the points you made are fair, with the possibilities of what AI could turn out to be based on your knowledge. Well, I appreciate that. And again, it's not doom and gloom. I'm not saying I've wanted to very, very straightforwardly say it's not Terminator. I don't believe Terminator. I don't believe we're going to all be eradicated. I don't care if we were. It doesn't really make that big of a difference. It's just, that's not what I'm worried about. right? It's not a worry that all of humanity be wiped out, because again, let's go with who did I say? Epicurus, right? Where we exist, death cannot, and where death exists, we cannot. So there's really no point. There's no point in worrying. If we're all wiped out, we're wiped out, and we won't realize it. But or if you're religious, we won't realize the pain that was the cause of it, right? So it doesn't matter. It's that we will continue to live with a problem that we needed not take upon ourselves prematurely, whilst we have other problems that remain unsolved that immediately impact us drastically. Well, with AI, it is art that I'm really unsure about. I can sometimes tell when the pictures or videos are done by AI, but other times I'm not, and that irks me. Then it should. I think that's a fair thing. Art is something that is expressive, and it is the imperfections that make it there. But the thing about this is the thing: the imperfections are different. But in AI, even the imperfections are uniform, and the fact that they can't get their fingers together and such, right? Like, even the imperfections are scientific, or are patterned, are mathematical, you know. Mind you, maybe us humans just want to relax and have AI do things for us. That's the thing. We shouldn't want that. There's utility in doing things the hard way. You don't have to do it the hardest way, but there's utility in doing things the hard way. I've seen some programs to check assignments for school, and some of them think the Declaration of Independence is AI generated. See, then that's yeah. AI is a topic I probably want to learn more about, even if just to remain cautious or know what I want to do in the future, like not using AI to write, do art, etc. Or use it. And I think AI can be a good thing. I don't think that we should stop AI. I think we should throttle substantially our investment into AI. Work on solving problems that are immediate and drastic in their impact. And then, when we've gotten to the point of where the problems are mitigated, they're not going to ever be completely solved, but they're mitigated to a livable point. Then we might take on the potentiality of new problems through the research into greater convenience of AI. That's my opinion. It's a simple one. It's not. I don't think it's all that controversial. It's just, we don't need the problems right now. Why are we insistent that we decide that before we've solved all these other problems we need solved, that we potentially create new problems in this thing we don't need? Surely AI at least knows a bunch of people wrote the Declaration on a piece of paper centuries ago. And it's such a beautiful document too. I mean, even just aesthetically speaking, it's a beautiful document when you read it. We have a beautiful, the Declaration of Independence. Okay, of course, is just if we did it according to today, it's, hey, we're breaking away, right? We're breaking away, and we're saying that this is what our tenets are. But it's so well, like the art that we had 250 years ago, 249, right? It'll be 250 this July. No, it won't. It'll be 249 this July. I'm wrong. So 248 years ago, the way that they wrote, not just the penmanship, but also the words. We, the people of the United States, dedicated to the proposition, you know the thing. I was trying to quote the Biden quote. I messed it up. No, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Just that first thing right there. How beautifully worded is that? How beautifully worded is that? And then written in the finest of pen, signed by people who took pride in their names, written well, and just, there is no more pride. There is no more artisanal element to writing, to sign. That's something we lost before AI, and we further bury it by allowing AI to do so much for us. I wish I had more old books on my shelves. Like, I actually did have Catcher in the Rye, but it was falling apart. Least of all lending to buying a new copy. Take it to a book. I don't know if you have one near you, but take it to a book. We have a bookbinder here. I'll take it to a bookbinder. If it's in such a state of disrepair, I'll take it to a bookbinder. If it's one of my old like first editions, then I have to have it. I have to actually go find like a professional someone that will do it. And it's not inexpensive to have those types of volumes rebound, but normal, average everyday kind of 70-year-old books like that usually can be rebound for not more than $30-$40. Do films like Matrix, Blade Runner, Terminator, etc. factor in? I think that those are all kind of absolute worst case scenarios. I think that that's, I don't think that that's the realistic outcome. And Nero is still flawed in some ways, most definitely. I'd say it's scarier if she wasn't still flawed. I love talking about AI, even though I don't have a ton of... That's okay. I mean, you've given great insight, still, regardless of what you think I think you've done a phenomenal job. Your contribution has been wonderful, and I'm certainly going to research more on the person. It's not... That's the thing. I think I agree with you there. I think that the flaws the fact that it is still flawed, it's just that we know that won't last, and the amount of time that it'll take to solve it will be less rather than more. That's where I am on it. I agree with you that those, like I said, we're driving well. We're in the vehicle and we're driving well. We're going to speed. We're using our turn signal. We're doing everything that you're meant to do as a proper motor vehicleist. It's just when you see the rough road coming, it's why they call it an accident. And you know that the more times you're in a vehicle, the more chances you have to be in an accident. And so it's one of those things where it's like sometimes it's good. We still need to use the vehicle. We still need the convenience of going forward at this speed, but we don't need that all the time. Sometimes it's okay to just walk and get to our location a little bit slower. Sometimes it's okay to ride our bike and just feel a little bit more pressure in our lungs because we did it the difficult way, right? We don't need the car all the time yet. And that's where I am. It's like the very early learnings of philosophy. I love talking about it, least of all just questioning, but I have more to learn. In fact, my first lesson is a little more than 24 hours from now. I know I'm super excited. You sent me the synopsis, and I think it's brilliant. I'm so excited to hear what you think about it. And Vidi, if you want, I don't necessarily know that you would consider me any authority on it, but I don't believe that authority exists in philosophy, or otherwise it wouldn't be philosophy now, would it? But that having been said, if at all you are interested in talking about the concepts and just talking them over together, and you feel comfortable enough to do so with me, please do. I very much enjoyed. Again, philosophy, there is no such thing as authority. It's a matter of sharpening iron against iron, and it is the abrasion that makes us sharp. So I would love the opportunity to speak with you. First lesson is a 5-lesson long philosophy course. I love it. Philosophy is very fun to talk about. It is. It's very fun. The declaration was written by AI. Is that a fact? No, it's a point of... Never mind. No, in that case, it is a fact. That would be a counterfact, right? Or that wouldn't be a counterfact. Counterfact would be a fact that depresses the validity of a previously stated fact. That would be that'd just be false. That would just be yeah. I think because the English language wasn't developed as developed as it is now, for better or for worse, and now we go back and reminisce about the olden days like we always do. Well, it isn't. The problem with it is that we developed it very well in those days because it was the primary form of communication, right? All languages had this to some extent, but it was our primary form of communication, that we communicate via pen, and that we communicate via letter and via spoken word, and that was what would sway the people, because modern English developed to sound kind of like what our English sounds like, though more, I think, sophisticated. About 500 years ago, right? The language sounded completely different 600 plus years ago. It was a completely different language. As a matter of fact, it was predominantly Germanic in those cases, whereas now we've married remarkable elements of Latin-based languages, predominantly Greek, of course, and then, of course, predominantly French for the Latin-based languages, and certain languages such as Greek, non-Proto-Greek. And so English is this really awesome amalgam of languages. A friend of mine who I find to be quite intelligent also, that I have spoken with, says that English is the kleptomaniac of languages, and I agree with that. We take a little bit of everything. I think our language is more poorly developed, though, than it was prior. Because you have slang, you have slangs and words that mean 6 or 7 different things, and we have other words for that. You know, like I've used the example cap, right? Cap means like 5 things now, and it's all contextual, it's all tone. But then, in some cases, a lot of what we do is non-tonal, right, in text messages. And so then you have to, we kind of regress into the art form of hieroglyphics in the form of emoticon. And it's like, well, I believe that's a regression. I don't believe that is I don't think that's a progression. I believe that's a regression. Maybe the English language is so developed to the point that the guy I mentioned many weeks ago was like, no, it's not color, it's color. What are you talking? And see, that's just that's a nitpick. That's pretentiousness. That's just someone attempting to inflate status by saying, I'm an authority figure because you've missed a letter. That's opinion worth discard, in my opinion. Of course, my opinion is equally worth discard, so do what you will. Well, there will be some points from the notes where the lessons and lessons to learn about. Least of all, hopefully, to come up with heavily focused on religion or politics. I love reading about those, but I have different experiences. My recommendation to you, Viddy, if you might allow me to offer you one, is don't take any sort of tape recorder, video recorder. Do not take a laptop. Take a pen and an inexpensive. Go to whatever the local thrifty store is, whatever the local, afford. Just buy here you can get them for $1 to $1 to $3 a piece. Buy yourself a little booklet. If you can find a leather-bound one, wonderful. If you can find, but here you can buy little leather-bound booklets for note-taking. Buy yourself a packet of good pens that you enjoy to write with, and write it all down by hand. The notes which you intend keep. This is something called the Feynman method. A professor found it out, but it's the idea of being able to write everything down that you found valuable, to speak it out to either someone, to a mirror, out loud to yourself, or to someone else. And then where you stutter in the speech, you go back to your notes and you find those gaps, and then you speak on them again until you can finally get it down, and you'll memorize these concepts. But it'll also, I do all of my notes. Every note that I've taken for the past 30 years has been by hand. I don't take notes, with exception to if I disseminate the notes to a group of people, then I can't do it by hand. I have to send it via email. But beyond that, any notes that are for my purposes are always taken by hand, so that I might retain it for the longest possible and with the most understanding. Like, surely I don't want to learn about philosophies that are the only ones I should agree with, at least of all the heavily focused on religion. Okay, so that was the one. Yeah, no, you should certainly learn about philosophy. Is the idea to think about thinking, so to speak. But you should also understand that in philosophy, it is very disingenuous to be a philosopher who only believes what is presented to them. You must believe what you believe about it because you have used that chain of logic, and because that chain of logic follows suit to you. I think the development of the English language has made variations depending on where you are and what specific language that you are developing it from. So it has developed from the point where we are always inconsistencies, where there are always inconsistencies globally. Certainly, and I have no problem with inconsistency. I have a problem with inelegance. Fighting on social media like this guy seems to want whenever. Again, always, everyone always wants to be right now that have a voice. But yeah. No, you're spot on. No. Voice it. If you disagree with me on something, that's the thing. Really quickly, I'm going to go back to yours, Fighting Max. But really quickly, when you're debating, especially philosophy, which is the nature of the ethereal, which is the nature of asking questions about something that cannot be directly and immediately proved. There was again, I said this before, a Buddhist practice, and the Buddhist practice was that these two people would debate about a topic that is ethereal. The moderator would give them an ethereal topic, one that could not be proved. The person who won the debate, insofar as that their opponent, their interlocutor, whatever you want to call it, could no longer retort, the person who invoked that was the loser, because they had not learned anything from that conversation. So the nature of a debate, a philosophical debate, should always be to see how many of your assertions can be made without holes being poked in them, how many you can defend, and then if holes are poked into them and you realize that they're not, you go back and you reevaluate, and if they're not poked into them, then hopefully your opponent will do the same and go back and reevaluate their stance until either the two of you have remarkably strong stances that may be steel-manned against each other with equal efficacy, or you find, I guess, more fine or more niche or more granular an argument that might be slapdash, let's say. No one is invalidated, but nobody is right. That's a fair point, too. That's a good way to say it. Remember, though, that word means a lot less than it used to, right? There is not everything that everybody says is valid. Everybody always wants validity. If you say something that is silly, then it must be pointed out as silly. right? And the same is with me. If I say something that is absolutely ridiculous and one can prove that it is ridiculous, then you must point out articulately that it is ridiculous so that I might improve myself. I don't need validity, but I certainly can't allow myself to continue to say things that are invalid. I have bad handwriting. I always prefer to type, but I think maybe words can have more meaning when you write them down as opposed to typing them, because all of your senses can be in play rather than just sight. That's true. I'll send a picture of my handwriting. I think I've sent a picture of my handwriting before, but I do enjoy. I think I've sent one before, but I'll send another at some point. I love to. No shame, by the way, on anybody who does have handwriting that they consider to be poor. It's that we have lost the writings, both in our handwriting and in the way that we write, the composition of the sentences, the structure of the words, the descriptiveness, and perhaps the articulate nature of the way that the composition, sentence composition, I guess what I mean to say. It's broken down. It's diminished. Think of how wonderful it is to read a book that is written with good structure, especially like poetry and stuff. But think about some of the old classics. Think about Dracula, for example. Think about Dracula. Think about The Picture of Dorian Gray. These books were really well written, long time ago, still very relevant today. And there's a floweriness to the language when it's intended to be flowery, and the words cut deeper when the horror elements are meant to come in, because they can be infinitely more descriptive than the way that we speak today. Today we don't speak the way that I speak, the way that I have spoken and am speaking and speak in all of my streams, using these adjectives as infinitely, or using the sentence structure in the way that people don't speak like this anymore. It's something, I am an anachronism beyond even my age. And I recognize that my anachronisms are perhaps difficult for some people to acclimate to. And I don't ask that they do. But people don't speak the way that I speak anymore, on average. Speech is much more simplified. It pays discourtesy, I think, to your average individual, because, and I've had this issue before. I'm going to be very vulnerable here for a moment, if I may, and say there have been many times where I've had people come to me and say, you're speaking to the lowest common denominator. And I say, I cannot offer you the condescension of speaking to you as if you were less intelligent than me. I am not. You are not less intelligent than me. I cannot expect less from you. I think that to dumb my speech down and to speak more colloquially in a lot of instances is a condescension to the average intelligence of an individual, whether they speak this way or not, that I afford them the opportunity to tell me that they would rather be spoken to more simplistically, or that I instead speak to them in the way that I would speak to anyone, because I believe they are intelligent enough to speak to me and to understand what I'm speaking to them. Emily still generally stuck to her life and philosophies, but she changed slightly and also became more happy. Yeah, and that was a really nice. She definitely had a much more. She was more dismal, I think. So I have bad handwriting too, so wish me luck for note taking tomorrow. It's a recommendation. I mean, if it's preferable, obviously, for you to do it in an electronic format, please do. It's easier to. There was evidence that it was easier when you write by hand, by Dr. Feynman, that when you write by hand that you remember more of it. Still, they say you write down your notes rather than just take the note by email or something. You do. That's called the Feynman method. It's a very, very popular method. It's a method I've used for many, many years. Decades, in fact. As long as I can still read my writing, yes. Again, I agree with you. If you're comfortable with your handwriting, I'm not critiquing the art of the handwriting. I'm critiquing the general state of how we've treated language, both written and spoken. Still, let's see, a logo stuck at the fireplace with no water gun saving it. That's true. Actually, I know what is more ridiculous. Some guy named Vidi and his sentient kitchen appliances constantly asking the following question: would you like some toast? Well, my typing on here now is something I'm certainly more comfortable with than handwriting, and that's fair. there's utility in being comfortable too. Again, my critique isn't on individuals. My critique is on the general malaise that we've paid towards, I think, the artistry of speaking and the artistry of writing and the utility in that artistry, I think, and the development of that artistry, the maintenance of that artistry. So I'm not critiquing anyone individually for having poor handwriting. I mean, to some people's eyes, my handwriting, though well practiced, may be considered poor. It's just that I think that we have en masse discarded utility, the utility of the artistry of the written and spoken language. You should save the Space Invaders before they turn to toast, which I would then eat. I swear I'm sure a game that, like that exists. Quite a few games with toast, surely. Yeah, that's probably true. Forgot what you called. There's a line in Star Fox 64, like paraphrasing, move quickly or you're toast. There's a lot of, that phrases. There's a game called I Am Bread where you have to become toast. It's very frustrating. Yes, it is. I have that game. I've played that game. I actually played that game on the channel a long time ago, but I discarded it in favor of Surgeon Simulator because the commentary was better. I was having more fun during the commentary of Surgeon Simulator than I was on the I Am Bread because I was getting frustrated. Also, I found a YouTube channel called Max Durat who has a playlist of philosophical games. Ooh, that's wonderful. I would be very interested to know what those are. Hey, all. Hey, Ash, how are you doing? I'm sorry, I was just trying to figure out what the heck. I was like, who said hey? Welcome in. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Wonderfully. We've had a wide conversation here over the efficacy and legitimacy of AI development all the way to just general philosophy. It's been a very nice conversation. Oh, it's getting over it. Yeah, I'm less interested with that game. I have it. I've played it. I'm not good at it. Oh yeah, we're talking about AI handwriting. Most importantly, toast. I'm good. I'm not good, but I'm good. If that makes sense. Sure. I feel like that at the moment. I'm feeling a very heavy mixture of good and bad. I'm sorry. I watched Max Durat. I don't know who that is, but that's awesome. How was the movie? Movie was at video. I was gonna say I was there too. I was sad. I got there like 10 minutes later than I was intended to. I had to wrap some stuff up. So. Just watched Infinity Pool. Boring movie. Well, later this month, Nosferatu comes to DVD and Blu-ray, and it's coming this beautiful Steelbook limited edition thing, and I am getting all of that. That movie was brilliant. They deviated where they needed to deviate, and they followed where they needed to follow, even down to the... this is not a spoiler, but even down to the cutting of the bread with the knife, which I thought was brilliant. And I know now that you've seen it, I can say some stuff, but wonderful. I was surprised to see you there for only seemed like a few seconds, but Retro and I philosophized, made up a word. No, philosophized is a word. No worries, you're spot on. The heck out of my name. Oh, no, it was a blast. I really appreciate that video. It was a ton of fun. Emily's school teacher was critical of Retro being late to class. However, I was not. Yeah, it was ironic that I happened to arrive and say and apologize for my tardiness in the midst of a schoolroom scene. I tried a couple of times, but I couldn't hear any sound. It was really quiet. I had to turn it up, and then I have a sound booster application that allows me to boost it further if I need to. Some videos just come in quiet, so I just boosted mine. Yes, I could hear sound. It was very quiet. It was very, very quiet, but I have a sound boost. If I turn the volume all the way up, I could hear it okay. And then I have a sound booster app which artificially boosts the digital gain on my phone if needed. So yes, I could hear it. I rewatched the 20s Nosferatu, which was really fun too. The one with Max Schreck, that was very good. Has now made 4 movies in a row that I've loved. He's rightfully so. His movies, the ones I've seen, you've recommended the one to me, The Witch, which I've not yet seen, and I will. But my goodness, his take on Nosferatu is fantastic. It is brilliant. So very, very good. Yeah, no, it was no worries. It was not a problem. We turned it all the way up, and then of course it was just boosting it. No, not a problem. Yeah. Robert Eggers has done just with the movies that I have seen of his. He's got The Northman, and he's got Nosferatu, and he's got The Lighthouse. I mean, just really well done movies. And then of course The Witch, which I've not seen. So yeah, really, really impressive. He would make, oh, that's a good point. He would make a phenomenal Bloodborne movie. Absolutely, he would. I think we talked about this, I think on the side, Ash. His next movie for 2026 is Werewolf, I think is what it's called. But it's like WARWULF. It's very unusually, or WERWULF. It's very unusually spelt, but he's taken on the genre of vampire. Now he's going to take on the genre of werewolf. And it looked like people were begging him to make an adaptation of Dracula. But if I'm to be honest with you, the names were changed. Some of the events were changed. But Nosferatu was originally an attempt to get away from, because at that time, Dracula came out in 1897. It was still under the Stoker estate in the 1920s, because the book was at that time only like 20 some odd, almost 30 years old. And so it was their way to get around it. But if you take a look at it, if you've read Dracula and you've watched Nosferatu, the beats are very similar. It's incredibly faithful, an adaptation. Not perfect, obviously, but really well done. Yeah, Vinny, you should see Nosferatu. It is fantastic. But it comes out, again, Blu-ray comes out this month, I believe it is, end of this month, and it's coming. There's a steelbook version coming. I'm getting that. I was such a fan. My wife and I went to see it at the cinema in December, and we adored it, and we were just so interested to be able to see it again. Does The Witcher bewitch the witch? Should you toss a coin to him? Is this the only thing I know about The Witcher? Yes. Witcher books are great. There are eight or nine. I can't remember, 8 or 9 of the books. But anyway, phenomenal books. They start off, I would recommend, with the short story compendiums, which start with Blood of Elves. And I'd recommend grabbing them. They're fairly inexpensive, can be purchased at your local bookstore. Generally, Barnes & Noble or any other bookstore will have them. If not, if you have a subscription to Audible, you can purchase them there for a credit, your monthly credit, if you have a subscription. If you don't have a subscription to Audible, I can send, I think, one free book to anyone who doesn't have one, and I do have all the Witcher ones, so I can send that. I know one of my coworkers I had sent, he was interested in the original Dracula, and Vidi, I didn't send you a free one. I just bought you one for gift, that philosophy book, so... Some shots in Nosferatu look, yes, they do. Oh man, that the movie, not only was it wonderfully written, not only was it fantastically delivered by the actors, but it was also just masterfully shot. The movie all around and the fun fact that Robert Eggers is as young as he is, and yet such the visionary when it comes to cinema. Sorry, my throat is beginning to scratch, so I'm going to drink for a moment, if you will permit. An elegant sloshing of a gallon of green tea. It's not a gallon of green tea, but it's a lot of green tea. I really, really, side note, I love green tea, and it's a thing I do multiple times a week, but especially on Sundays. We have a place here that we do it cold. I know that's sacrilege to some people. We do it on ice, but it's just tea leaf and water. I don't add anything to it, nothing to sweeten it, and I drink just about a half a gallon of it every day. I'm such the fan of it, but the caffeine is minuscule and has very little impact on me. It's simply the hydration and flavor that I enjoy. The witch plagiarized the witch. No, that's not even a point of view. That's a falsehood. You can't go passing these off, Biddy. The Witch is something unique and for me memorable. Yeah, Ash recommended it to me, so it's something on my soon-to-watch list. I intend to see it quickly. Someone asked him if I would ever make a comedy. Someone asked him if he'd ever make a comedy. He said, "Why would I do that? It would be terrible." I loved the honest. That's fantastic. I mean, you know when you understand what your craft is, and when you understand what it is so expressly as to say, I understand where I also would be flawed. That is when you have true mastery of your understandings of yourself. I think it's still on Netflix. I wouldn't be surprised if it was removed. Dang Netflix. I'll probably purchase it, in all honesty. I generally am averse to subscription services in the way that I am to online ownership of video games. I like the physical. I like having the physical. If I enjoy something enough that I want to own it, I would like to own it. I think he said that Willem Dafoe will be in every movie he ever makes until obvious circumstances, of course. Willem Dafoe, oh my goodness. Wait, was Willem Dafoe just in Lighthouse and Nosferatu? I know for a fact he was in those, and I can say he was brilliant in both. Brilliant in both. Willem Dafoe is a fantastic actor. I'll be listening to that audiobook while watching more. That's really cool. I think that's nice. He's in his last 3 movies. More than those 2. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, Willem Dafoe, I think people even said when he was doing Spider-Man, whatever the latest Spider-Man he was in was, it was scary because he would change and dissociate with the him that was Willem Dafoe and completely become the him that was Norman Osborn, which is such a cool thing. Do you guys ever think they'll make more POTC movies now that Johnny Depp isn't Jack Sparrow anymore? I would hope they don't. Pirates of the Caribbean, I think that is, yes. I would hope that they don't, and they don't deserve Depp for everybody was immediately. I mean, I'm not saying that there wasn't a back and forth issue with that, but I'm not saying that everything that Depp did was perfect in that. But certainly, it was. Everyone is so inclined to immediately distance themselves when they hear the slightest hint of trouble, instead of search it through to its logical conclusion. And so in truth, having what came to light many years ago now, or a few years ago now, having that come to light, and they have so rapidly detached from him, I don't believe they deserve to have him come back and revive the franchise. And I think that their writing of late for any of the other popular franchises, Star Wars and the like, have been absolutely terrible. So even if it did come back, I think it would fail outrightly. Margot Robbie's what made up Tune Strike You Dead Winslow. Hark, hark, Titan, hark. Does you know how much I've sacrificed? He's got such a great voice too. He's got such a great I think he's from Wisconsin originally, and he's got such a great voice. Just it's kind of like Jim Varney before Jim Varney passed. I don't know if anybody really remembers Jim Varney, but Jim Varney was I think he was popular in America for his comedy, and for him playing comical. He played this character named Ernest P. Worrell, which is this ridiculous kind of redneck-esque pseudo-narcissist character, funny, slapstick kind of character. But the guy that played him, Jim Varney, was quite, if I understand it right, was quite well trained theatrically and Shakespearean, or quite well classically trained Shakespearean theater actor, and he had delivered Hamlet and very well with accent, done so. The point being is that you can kind of break your typecasts as Margot Robbie, as this guy from Wisconsin, who I believe is also in some ways classically trained, and then of course Jim Varney. So let's see. Then they wanted to work with him again, and he declined, but you never know. I don't know. I still need to watch the O.J. Simpson trial. It was a very crazy time. You can have a weird insight to the way the world was at that time, but O.J. Simpson was let out, was released, and then now he's passed. So, have you watched? Was Midnight Mass the one where Johnny Depp was the gangster who had they had to put the balding hair on? Because if that's the correct one, the answer to that question is very little of it did I get to see. I've not gotten to sit down and watch it. I've wanted to so badly. And I've seen snippets that further enticed me, but I did not have the ability to sit down and watch it in full. It's from Mike Flanagan. He made the fantastic Haunting of Hill House movie, as well as Oculus, Doctor Sleep, and many others. Midnight Mass is a fantastic horror. That may not be the one that I'm thinking of then. Honestly, don't know what to make of Depp Heard trial. Sometimes the logical conclusion is the verdict was the right one, surely an opinion, but that others keep on trying to get evidence. I think that we have enough evidence to show that while neither of them were perfect and both of them were to some extent at fault, Heard's mistruths far outweighed Depp's inequities. That's what I so far see. It does seem that she was genuinely, from the evidence we've gathered, this is not my opinion on this, there is evidence, and it has been ruled that this is conclusive, that she at least had caused him physical harm, and that she had at least done what she had done, or what was proposed or purported that she had done in court to besmirch his name. Right, that's a case that has been ruled on, so there will be no disclaimer of allegedly in this, because that is in accordance with the court ruling. But he was also penalized for some stuff that it was said that he had done too. It just the penalty ended up not a wash, but in favor of Depp. OJ and the Naked Gun, yeah, surely Naked Gun. Well, that's Airplane. I'm serious, and don't call me Shirley. Yeah, that's Airplane, but yeah. Naked Gun is great. Leslie Nielsen was a fantastic comedian, too. Again, I love Dracula Dead and Loving It. The Naked Gun series. He did a Magoo movie for Disney, which I still find hilarious. Watch Midnight Mass on it. Okay. I can't remember if I already mentioned this or not, but watching one of my first... I watched one of my first R-rated movies about 2 weeks ago. Well, congratulations. I hope you liked it. I've not seen the sequel to Naked Gun, but it has a super face. There are two sequels. There's two Naked Gun sequels. You watch Dogma. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, Dogma is a really good movie. Yeah. I love all of the Naked... Yeah, same. I haven't seen Dog... Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it. I remember it being really good. I think Kevin Smith's another one who makes a good lot of... I like a lot of the movies he makes. Most of them obviously incline towards the comedic, but I think he makes a couple of ones that make a really good point that's deeper. Yeah, Alan Rickman, yeah. I thought it was quite interesting not being a Christian. Yeah, I think he was making kind of that. I think he was kind of making a statement, because I don't know that Kevin Smith himself is religious, but I believe that he had said in that his whole intent was basically in making Dogma. I think he said his whole intent was basically steelmanning the argument against what his belief was, because I don't believe he's an anti-theist. I believe he's atheist, but I believe that his perspective in making Dogma was the steel-manning of the major opposing viewpoint, and I think that's impressive. I think that's really nice. Are any of you religious? I'm not in the slightest. Naked Gun is vaguely similar to Airplane, but in a separate title sequence with prolonged dying. Yes, yeah. I like this movie, The Red State. Very different for him. I'm agnostic, probably, if the answer's your question, Ash. Yes, no, I am. I am. Agnostic is... So I believe I don't believe... I'm not invalidating what you say here, Vidi. This is my belief on the word agnostic. I believe agnostic is the state that we all exist in, right? Because whether or not you are religious, Gnosticism by its nature means to know. And we are not... No one knows what occurs when you die but the dead. And so agnostic, A, is the Greek prefix to it, meaning without, or agnostic meaning to without knowing, means that we don't know. I've not died yet, therefore I don't know what happens to the dead after you are dead. But yes, I am religious. Yeah, I am religious. Agnostically religious. Of course, I don't know. But I find, if for no other purpose, self-soothe, I enjoy the defense of the idea. I find it vain. Let me put it this way. Regardless of whether there is or isn't proof that there is anything that exists beyond us, I cannot reconcile and find it an egregious vanity that we believe that we are the highest form of existence. Because if we are not, then surely there is something greater, and if we are, then certainly there is no purpose for us to continue to exist. That's my belief. But again, nobody's wrong. I don't know the answer. It's just my personal belief. Kevin Smith got a lot of hate for Dogma from religious groups, which is funny because that was his thing, is he was steel-manning their perspective. I mean, obviously there's a little tongue-in-cheek in it, but he was steel-manning their perspective, and I think that's funny. No, that's perfectly right. And it's wonderful that he named it dogma, because it isn't religion that kills conversation. It isn't belief in something different or greater or worse or whatever. It is dogma. It is the imposition that your belief must be that which is universally evident. That's what dogma is, that you must adopt my viewpoint and that must be what it is. Dogma is a grand evil. Religion is harmless. It doesn't matter whether you are or aren't, it's a harmless belief system. Dogma is a damning thing that we should seek as readily as we can to rid ourselves of. I don't believe in anything. Well, aliens, I do. When you say you don't believe, obviously aliens, right, notwithstanding, you say you don't believe in anything, are you a nihilist? Would you classify yourself as a nihilist? Do you believe that whether it is or it isn't, it doesn't really matter, but there might be or may not be? Or is it just something that you... of course, I may have misinterpreted that. To me, I'm in the middle of believing it. Oh, no, that's fair. You didn't misinterpret it. You used it in the traditional way, I think, and I think you used it fine. I was defining what I believe that word to mean, or how I believe that word to come across. But no, you meant it the way you meant it, and I think you meant it perfectly well and used it perfectly well, too. So no, I wasn't correcting you, Viddy. I was just opining. One of my community is heavily religious, but she doesn't preach it too much. She will occasionally say Jesus loves you, but again, very rarely. That's another thing. I don't have a problem with that. Whether or not I agree with the God that you believe loves me, it is nice to say that somebody, if somebody wants to come out and be like, well, such and such. A lot of people find that condescending. If you come up to me and you say, Krishna protect you, or you say, then watch your back. The fact that you believe or giving me an oath or giving me a positive affirmation that your God will watch me I think that's a very sweet thought. I really don't take that as a negative, even if I don't agree or believe in it, that particular one. I think that's a remarkably sweet thing to well wish that your God protect or care for me is not a condescension to me, I don't think. I was thinking of I don't know. Yes, dogma is the imposition that a belief system be that which is readily accepted as fact by all. So to be dogmatic is to say what I believe is universally true, even if I cannot accept it or I cannot approve it, almost to cult-like enforcement, right? You have to follow it or this bad thing will happen to you. In the case of Christianity, it's the eternity in hell, right? So... there are other punishments in other religions, and some religions are not so total. And as a matter of fact, other than Christianity, many others are not so totalitarian in their punishment. The plot log line is too intriguing. It's very good. What kind of a joke? I don't believe in any higher power of God. I think when we die, that's it, nothing more. But I find it very... And that's fair. That's perfectly fair. I have no evidence, Ash, to that point. I have no evidence to prove that that's not the case. I have no evidence to prove that that isn't the case. So, very fair. And I don't judge that that's the case. I have no evidence also to prove that there is... that's, I can't prove that that's wrong. I can't prove that that's right. So I incline in a different direction, which is fine. But again, when I'm talking about my logic flow, I'm saying if there is a higher power, then I think I call it the egregious vanity to believe that we are the highest existence. To me, I can't believe that I'm the highest form of existence. There are other people out there more intelligent than I, but even the most intelligent person would fall shy of expectations set by storytelling of myths of gods for... the polytheistic pantheons of the Norse and of the Greco-Romans, and so there's just so much that we can aspire to, even through the imaginations of wizened minds long dead. That's kind of my thought. Is there's some utility in that. There's a wisdom greater than us, even if it is a collective consciousness that pervades humanity independently, but that our group think comes to make itself manifest of something greater than us. I have more specific beliefs, or I at least would espouse them to something more concise, but I think, I get your point completely. I think it makes perfect sense, too. And there's also a vanity. I say that it's an egregious vanity, but I also pay a discourtesy in that I also become vain in that I believe that if after I die that there is nothing, then I have had my time wasted. So it's why I say that the best thing that I can do for certain is to say that I will live as long as I can. I will live, if I can make it so, infinitely, because there is no utility in death when life is infinite. There's no utility, and there is no utility in life. A lot of people say there's no utility in life when death is imminent. But I think that there's no utility in life if death is imminent. So then I continue to attempt to stave off death as much as I can. So if I can live to be 300, then I will do so, happily. And older if I can. But I don't know that that's feasible, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to live as long as I can. 300 is not the actual number. I'm just going to try to live as long as a person can live. Speaking of religion, one of my fave series is The Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. I like it purely for the fantasy adventure narrative. A lot of people, however, didn't like its religious themes. Least of all for possibly attacking the organized religion. That, however, has a lot of criticism, never mind believing in God, etc. A lot of books that were popular, and there are a lot of books like that. J.R.R. Tolkien was originally someone who was he was he was good friends with C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis, Lion, Witch, the Wardrobe, and all of those books were written with obvious Christian allegory. J.R.R. Tolkien was himself, I believe, a Christian man and wrote Christian themes into The Lord of the Rings. But the religion wasn't allowed to inundate the story, and I can respect that. So it's one of those things where it's like, And I think J.R.R. Tolkien was more, firstly and foremostly, a linguist than he was a religious, Speaking of, let's go. I love listening to people who claim they've been to hell. My favorite is this guy who constantly promotes his book while doing, of course, yeah. I have no issue with religious people. My other half is religious in many ways, but the people telling me, okay, this or that, I don't believe. I have zero time for them. I can't speak for you in this case. I don't have any problem with people sharing their belief systems and telling me these great and grandiose stories. I have no problem with that. When we come to zero time for, it's when you tell me I have to believe that way. Right? And again, I'm not a religious. I am someone who has a religious belief system. But I'm happy to share all kinds of cool stories of the call it the mythology of the thing if you find intrigue in it. I just don't have any business telling you that you can't disagree with me. Surely you can, because one of us is going to be right and one of us is going to be wrong. We just don't know which one's which yet. So there's no point in me telling you that you should believe the way I believe. I have no idea if I'm right. An episode of Soprano, one person who appeared dead briefly, who had been to heaven or the other side, or whatever they call it. Our minds, there was I'll tell you this, I'll come back to that in a second. Follow me, believe in Jesus, God. They will save you, the words. Yeah. So one of the things we know is there was a French experimenteur who basically had taken, and I've told the story before, who took heads off the guillotine in order to experiment on them. We found in this very, very, I would almost call it barbaric, experiment that the eyes would open and respond, having been severed from the body for almost up to 10 minutes to this French experimenter. So we know that the brain continues to fire for a little while even after it's been completely severed from the body, that there are random electrical firings or misfirings perhaps, and so that means that we can still potentially manifest in subconscious, in dream and vision and hallucination, until eventually it's deoxygenated to the point of where it no longer functions. I refuse to believe there aren't some form of aliens out there. I have an insane fascination with it. That's fair. That's very fair. In fact, I did put my name as Emily screen grab on my Discord where Emily briefly sees the wall of fear God in life. Yeah. Do people think about the afterlife because they want to be resurrected, that they can still have meaning after death? Yeah, the one thing, the greatest thing that you can be after you, the greatest thing that you can be after you have passed on is remembered. That, I think, is fairly objective. But I don't care. It's not about the afterlife. It's just existence. Narnia's most... Yes, it is. And again, I've only read the first... A lot of religious allegory exists in the entirety of that series. My problem is telling me that I'm wrong, or this or that will happen to me if I don't think the way they do. Yeah, that's exactly right. That should not happen. I have no idea if you're right. I have no idea if you're wrong. I have no idea if I'm right. I have no idea if I'm wrong. You want to talk ideas with me and we disagree at the end of it, that's fine. But I have no idea. I am not an authority at this point because I've not been to death. And so because I've not been to, we can't be to death. Where death is, we are not. And where we are, death cannot be because we are alive. So we can't do that. Again, that's Epicurus. It's one of my favorite thoughts ever, and it's absolutely true. Well, to go along the nobody is right from Metal Gear Solid 2, no one can prove what happens to a person after dying, but religious people try to say that that's not the case. Yeah, again, you can't. Nobody knows what happens to those who die but the dead. I mean, once you are dead, then you know. Maybe nothing happens, maybe something happens, but we don't. We aren't there, so we can speculate all we want. We don't know. I've not died. French to many of us, death is essentially sleep, possibly with no dreams, and we never wake from that sleep. And that's something that I think a lot of people try to flee from, and I think that's fine too. Is I don't believe that if I live 80 years and then die, that there was any point for me to have lived at all. That's the point. That's my thing. I believe that it's a terrible waste that a human be allowed to live for 8 decades or 7 decades or 10 decades and that be it. Because if that were the case in the blink of the cosmic calendar, that means nothing. There is no reason to exist. And that's kind of where part of my belief from that kind of stems from. Is it's a colossal waste of time. Like, I don't know, they say Jesus lives in heaven and that's who they're following their entire life and they can be finally united after death. Their prayers being saved have been fulfilled. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different creeds that go into that. There are a lot of really good ones, I think, too, that are fun. The mythology is written in what I would consider extra canonical volumes, specifically Paradise Lost and Revolt of the Angels, those 2 books. I think the mythology of Christianity is better realized in those 2 books than I would say it is realized in the Bible itself. So if you're interested in the Christian mythos and you're interested in the stories of, again, in line with almost a mythological one, I would read those 2 books. I would read Paradise Lost and I would read Revolt of the Angels. So I heard a guy say that that's his view of heaven, the fact that you're remembered by the ones who loved you. Which, that's a sweet way to do that, but the ones who loved you die in short order after. And then they are remembered, but you are eventually forgotten. I mean, think about this. How well do you know your great-great-grandfather? How well do you remember, and how often does he come up in conversation? Even just your great-great-grandfather. Even your great-grandfather, perhaps, right? My great-grandmother was alive until recently. My family has a fairly good habit of making it either very close, right to, or beyond our centenarian year. And that was no exception. Lovely Bones has a depiction of heaven in the murder scene. A lot of, yeah. Predicted current day MGS2. Yeah. I'm not saying it could ever be a thing, but the thing they think to feel peace in their life, and I think they should believe that if that makes them feel good, just don't bring it around me. That's fair. I don't have a problem if you bring it around me either. Just don't force me to believe it, right? I don't care if you bring it around me. If you want to say peace be with you, if you want to say Jesus loves me, I don't think that's condescending. I have no problem with that. If you're telling me that you are wishing that your God gives me something good that is of benefit, I think that's a well wish. I have no problem with it. Whether I believe that it's something that exists or doesn't really matter. It's just, you can't, don't force that I try and bend a knee to that which you believe a knee must be bent to. It talks a lot about Metal Gear Solid, that scene from Metal Gear. That's pretty neat, I'd like to say. Silent Hill to Morpheus Convos in Deus Ex. Very nice. The video of the psyche of the lighthouse is really interesting. I have no doubt of that. The Dark Materials, the title alone is of the course Paradise Lost. The series features angels. Yeah, Paradise Lost is a phenomenal book. Very, very good book. Oh my God, it's just something I say with no ties to any religion. I'm not trying to take his name in vain. And speaking of which, I'm not sure what taking his name in vain truly means. Taking a name in vain is something, to be fair, Fighting Max, that's not something that most of the practitioners of the religion know either. And I've said this before. God is not a name, it is a title. God is not a name; it's a title. King is a title. President is a title. You cannot take those in vain because they are titles. Names must have a name. They must be unique to you. And there's no general agreement on the name of God in Christian mythos. There are a couple of them, right? There's Jehovah, there's Yahweh, El Shaddai. But Jesus isn't even a name. Jesus isn't the name of the man that was born back then. His name was Yeshua. Yeshua is the name Joshua, if I'm not mistaken. And Christ would not have been his last name. Christ is a shortened, generally English, by the way, title for one who is christened. Right? So Jesus Christ would be Jesus, which his name was not, and who was christened. But his name was Yeshua, which would be, again, Joshua. So even using Jesus Christ is not the use of his name in vain. So you have to agree upon what his name was. Was it Yeshua? If you said, oh my Yeshua, would that be it? Are we talking about the name of God? Are we talking about Yahweh, right? If that's the case. Or are we talking about Jehovah? Those three then might be more closely considered using the name in vain. Of course, I was a millisecond before she was, maybe. I thought Celeste was on. It looks like a cozy fire in a reading room. Is this part of Celeste? No, we do a discussion ahead of time. Sometimes we just sit and talk about things that... we just kind of sit and talk about philosophy and AI and things like that. So this is the set and talk session. We talk about that. So this is a lot of different things. But welcome in, Jamie. Cocaine and conversation and philosophy and religion. And we talked about a lot of that. I should have bought Coke. Traded his games for Coke. Well, just stuff. Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and switch over to Celeste. Though we have been talking here now 2 hours and 30. So I think it's not. It's probably not inappropriate that we go ahead and get switched over to play a couple of chapters of Celeste if we can. Okay, this is the one that has the envelope. What is the 4K screen I have? I think I have to remember the button layouts. I think it's that one. There we go. Talking is better than gaming. No, I think it's. I mean, we do both at the same time. We talked there for about. Well, sheesh, 2.5 hours just there about. We talked about AI. We talked about religion. We talked about philosophy. We talked about a lot of stuff there. It was really good too. Really, really nice. But by the way, huge thank you to all of you for being here and talking with me to tonight, and to Fighting Max, who originally we started the conversation on AI, and then of course to Viddy and Ash, who we transitioned into, again, cinema and religion and all of that, and to Jamie for popping in to have conversation with us as well. Just very, 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 very nice. I started Celeste 2 days ago, but the first time I need to continue it, I thought my game broke when I jumped in a bird that was frozen on the first level. No, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking I'm fairly anti-generative AI. Not totally. I have to be very clear about that because I gave my fully expressed thoughts and it's very hard for me to summarize them. But I did give those earlier on in the conversation. Roger was talking about the philosophies of My Name is Enemy, expecting anyone who wasn't me to understand what they were talking about. Yeah, this is a really good song. I saw that immediately too. Video, that's what I had thought too. So when I left off originally... Hold on, let me turn this down. When I left off originally, I was in this other room over here, or kind of across the room. I'm in here now. Just so that you know. That's why he keeps pausing. I didn't realize I had bought tickets to the gun show. Yeah, I did this. I think I've already spoken with this gentleman, and I think he's come. Why will it not let me? Is this a platform? Hold on. Is it okay? Why? There's a collision article in that light that I kept bumping my head on. Okay. Ashes and an only bicep. Okay, I don't think I can go up that way yet, so we'll see where else I'm meant to go. Maybe down here? Oh, I gotta get reused to this really quickly. I meant to step down on the... Definitely having trouble getting the direction of this to behave for me. There, that's what I wanted, right there. Ah! This feels very much to me like V's, a little bit. There's an element that feels like V's to me a lot. Hold on. Wait, what in the world do we... Dang doorbells, the Spice Girls. Scary Ginger was... I have no idea. Now I'm completely lost. That is a topic of which I have, for which I have no expertise. It doesn't let you hang on to the wall as long as I'd hoped, so I'm trying to figure out how to get over those two. Okay. Yeah, I know, you slide right down the wall. Oh. I forgot you can hold the trigger. I needed to hang on there is what I needed to do. Dang it. So it's going to be that first one that's going to hit me. This every other turn, I guess. There we go. Is this really just for a strawberry that I did this? Well, this isn't good. Okay, I need to be very oops. I need to be very specific on about where I grab. Ah, I was trying to grab for that and I didn't get it. Let's try this. It's very difficult to know where the hitbox on this is. I don't even need the strawberry, so I may leave the room. Let's do this. I need a dash there. Oh, no, I don't. I could, There we go. I saw... Oops, I didn't see that. Okay, down here then. It is. This better not be another strawberry. I don't know why I did that. I won't spoil what they make out of the strawberries. Oh, it actually tells you? I didn't know that. That's really cool then. Okay. It's another strawberry. Do I go for it? Oops. I was gonna say, do I go for it? Maybe. You can't climb very quickly. That may have just messed me up. That thing goes all the way to the top. Dang it! This game looks a lot more interesting now that I've seen later levels. It definitely gets more. It definitely gets more challenging. It didn't get. That was not challenging. That was just me being stupid. It definitely gets more challenging. I won't lie to you there. There we are. Easy enough. I do like this song though, I agree with you there. Alright. Everything in its place. I'm gonna go back up and see if I might speak with the, Yes! Okay, that's what I thought. I figured this would lead to that. Now, I'm sure I have other things I have to do. Did that seal that off? Yes, it did. Yeah, it sealed that off. Okay. I think he showed 3 entryways originally, so let's... that one's sealed also? Okay, hold on. Let me go back and see if I can... I can't get to the key. Can I talk to him? No, because the key is in the folded linens and such, so there's still much to go to be put in its place. Okay, can I go in this? Okay, I can. I thought that was going to kill me, but it doesn't. It's a laundry room. Vidi once downed 4 bottles of absinthe and knocked out a koala bear with a punch. Good lord, what a Monday. Darn it, got my liquid uranium ready. Good lord. Seeing what part of Chat Retro is reading, he missed a lot of possibly humorous discussion about the Spice Girls and whether there should have been a Game Girls alongside the Game Boys. I have no idea what... the Spice Girls, I remember being a band. I don't remember anything beyond that. Who's calling us girls? Why wasn't there a Game Girl as well as a Game Boy? It could have been Beefy Spice. Good lord, Ash. Okay, yeah, I can... There could be a Spice... But then, if there was a Spice non-binary, you couldn't call it... you couldn't call it all of those things, any of those things, because then it would be... Or you could call it all of those things, I guess. Both. You call them, I guess, is be the appropriate, but I'm not sure. Why wasn't there Spice Guys? That's... You know what? I think... Yeah. Yeah, I think, Vidi managed the Spice Girls back in 98. Yeah, maybe. That'd be an interesting twist. An old paper sticks out, from amid the clutter. Attention hotel staff, it is my sad duty to inform you that the Celestial Resort Hotel will close indefinitely following this season due to circumstances beyond our control. It was an honor to have served alongside you all, as we worked tirelessly to ensure that our guests enjoyed the most hospitable and memorable experience possible. I write this with a heavy heart. This hotel has become my home, its staff and patrons my family. I will miss you all dearly. Mr. Oshiro. Aw. Okay, that's just that. So, I had given Mr. Oshiro a voice, but I don't remember exactly what it was. Can I swim up this? No. No, there's nothing up there. I thought so. I knew me and Ash an English vids and Aussie, and an American, but I know y'all don't count us. Well, it's kind of a mutual malaise fighting, Max, right? We see ourselves as the colony that got away. England sees us as one of the colonies that got away. So it's like they've lost more than we've won, but we haven't existed nearly as long as they have, right? But at the same time, we did do well with what we did do, so it is like, eh. All right. Got a computer. Oh, wait, what are we doing here? What is this? Pico 8? Is this going to incept us? You have to be kidding me. How adorable this is. Okay, but you don't have the grip power on this one. It's just jump. It is definitely much more stilted. Yeah, there's no grip there. England-America, great relationship. America also known as, all right, we can't be... This looks better than Celeste. It's Celeste again, but it is adorable. Okay, I feel... You can't grab. Okay. You can still bounce, but you can't grab. Well, that's a shame. Oops. Yeah, this is adorable. I like this a lot. Oh, you can't use the dash on them. That's right. Hold on. Whoa. I have to find a way to do this without using the dash. That's how. If it doesn't work forwards, then you have to try it backwards. Firstly. Yeah, I like this. This is the little inception of the game I think is really cute here. Okay, you can't jump off of those. Didn't mean to do that. Strawberry. Oops. Ah, no! I didn't take the strawberry away, so I'm fine. This is a tougher one to determine. There we go. I don't know the... Uh-oh. I don't know what a balloon does. I know in Donkey Kong what a balloon does. Oh, okay. I see what it does. Let's say I know what it does in Donkey Kong. It's Frogger. Dang it. I dashed and missed the strawberry on the dash. Son of a gun. Hold on. The French are not that bad. Is that a fact? No, it's a point of view. Good lord. The French can get no... they can get nothing. New DK this year? I hope so. I don't know. There was a rumor. I don't know how it is. But there was a rumor that Castlevania will be getting its first... Oops. That Castlevania will be getting its first original title in some time for the Switch 2's launch. Apparently Konami has had a level of... I shouldn't have done that. That's okay. They've had a level of success with their Silent Hill launch and so on. So apparently they are looking into creating a new Castlevania. And I am more than excited. The previous Castlevania... Oops. The last Castlevania we had came out 11 years ago. And in those 11 years, everybody had really hated on it. It was Lords of Shadow, right? Mercury Steam. Okay, I need that to go up. It was Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, which I don't mind. Is it a great Castlevania game? No, but it's fine. As a game, it's actually quite fun. The lore is not as Castlevania as we would want it to be, but it's fine. Well, and but apparently Konami says, we're gonna jump back on the horse, so to speak. And if they do, I am very happy and ready for that to happen. Oops. Son of a gun, that's what I needed to do, too. How much of this game is actually realized on here? Oh, man. Oh, I can't reach that one anyway. Yeah, I can't. I can. I did. I did it. I did a thing. I wasn't thinking of that at all. I'm not going to take credit for that. Come on, me. Okay. Yeah, how much of this game is in here? Like, I'm having fun with this, but it's, it's tough to get 8 directions on this thing. I may have to. I mean, again, I'm having fun with the Pico guy here, but doesn't let me dash as quickly as I hope on that one. Ah, that was my fault, though. That was completely my fault. Ah, no, I almost had it. There we are, I suppose. No! How did that even happen? That's not what I meant to happen. Come on! There's a one little pixel window you kind of have to do. Let's see. Next you'll be telling me Metroid is a playing Zelda walk. We've not had a real good Zelda game in decades. Did you not like the top-down iterations that they did? The recent top-down iterations that they did of like Link's Awakening and what is the current one? The one that you actually play as Zelda. Oh, I couldn't get the straw. It didn't let me get the strawberry. Ah. I'm sorry, I'm enjoying this little... I know this isn't the main feature, but I like it. Dig it. It is much clumsier to control than the actual Celeste is, though. It's very, very difficult to get this. We could use that balloon. She always jumps away, too, when she hits the the block. Alright, if I can't get this in the next couple of tries, I'm gonna exit and go back to my normal game. That was my fault. Hold on. I'll give it 3, 2, 1. I'm a man of my word. Very cool. Very, very cool. Now playable from the main menu. Very cool. I will definitely play more of that. I had fun at that. Yeah, Breath of the Tears of the King. Yeah, I agree with that. Truth be told, I would have reminded every mainline game you had to play as Link and never Zelda. But playing as her was a nice change of pace. We can go back to, and we can go back to Link again. That's fair too. Again, I'm excited for a I'm excited for a new Castlevania. That's what I want. Zelda, I'm excited about. We got a Mario, and the Mario is actually really good, I think. Hold on real quick. I'd see if there's anything else here. Very cool. And the Mario is actually, like, the Mario we got was really cool with Wonder. I would like a new Castlevania. I want a Belmont Castlevania too. I was talking about this yesterday. I was playing, I passed Portrait of Ruin. I was playing Aria of Sorrow. I'm sorry, Dawn of Sorrow. And, I do not like Soma Cruz's Dracula. Like, I don't understand why we went from every, like, Dracula versus the Belmont clan, and and then in the Sega Genesis version they tie in the book, the novels, right? Because we've got John Morris, son of Quincy Morris from the books, then Jonathan Morris in Portrait of Ruin, who is the son of John Morris. So you've got the grandson of Quincy Morris from the book, and then you end up with Soma Cruz, Yoko Belnades, Genya Arakido, I think, and it's Alucard, right? It's Alucard. Everybody knows that. You'll never guess what Dracula backwards is. Do you mean to play? It's just so, it's frustrating because they said, oh, everyone's Japanese now. We're like, no, they're not. Quincy Morris, John Morris, Jonathan Morris are Texans. Dracula is, he's not Transylvanian. He only was in Transylvania for like 3 years. He's Wallachian, right? Which is Romanian by today's standards. The Mario games keep getting better. Should be all the Zelda. Yeah, Mario Wonder was fantastic, I thought. I haven't played Brothership yet. I haven't even begun cleaning, and already I feel a renewed lightness of spirit. That's the power of positive thinking. This is like, well, actually, I cleaned it. Oh, yeah, I actually cleared out some of the clutter for you. Oh, yes, thank you, Ms. Retro. But please relax and let the hotel staff handle it. Oshiro, you fool, you're losing her. Guests don't want to spend their time cleaning. You okay? He's having a bit of a breakdown there. I like him. Yes, of course. This is the finest hotel you'll ever visit. You'll see. How could I let my problems pile up like this? And I'm like, nah, I got this. It's fine. I can't get to the key, though. Mr. Oshiro, it's okay if the mess is making you anxious. I still can't stay the night, but I can help before I leave. I'm such a sweet person. Madeline is so sweet. She pities you, Oshiro. You're pathetic. I can hear that. Yeah, she's an adorable little character. I like Madeline. Uh-oh. We'll go under. Wait, what is this down here? Can I go down here? No, I cannot. Can Twilight be considered an Ocarina of Time remake, even though the story and the design are fairly? I don't think so. I do think it's different enough. I actually liked Twilight Princess quite a lot more than I liked Ocarina of Time. I know that's very unpopular, but I just had much more fun with with Twilight Princess. Okay, I can go this way, actually. In the heart of Transylvania, in the Vampire Hall of Fame. Yeah, there's no vampire zanier than Duckula. Okay. I'm sorry, I had to wear the cartoon Count Duckula. Oh yeah, the Count Duckula was cool. The one from DuckTales. Yeah, I want Castlevania to be the way that Mario has, not the way that Zelda is. What is this little guy? Theo, are you a guest? Oh, it's Theo. Retro, I'm so happy to see you right now. I'm all about spooky mysteries, but this is getting too real. What are you doing here? Why do you follow me? Have you talked to Mr. Oshiro? I think he could really use some help. He's like, I'm not gonna clean at a hotel. You think? He's a creepy old weirdo. Man, this guy sucks. But he's cleaning out a nook to hide our bodies as we speak. Maybe he is. When I crawl through this vent, it's blowing cold air in from outside. Come on, I'm gonna help him. Mr. Oshiro's troubled, but I don't think he wants to hurt us. He just needs to clean up this mess. I'm so happy, I want to help him. Retro, that's very sweet, but this is dangerous. I don't know what voice I gave Theo, so he's just going to be my voice slowed down. We need to get out of here and call an expert on creepy old dudes. We aren't prepared for this. I think I can get through to him. Go ahead, and I'll catch up with you later. Man, you're more stubborn than my sister. Thought that was impossible. Her name was Madeline. She looked a lot like you. She got lost at this hotel, I think. Take care of yourself. Thanks, Theo. I'll see you outside. Okay. So I know I can't go there because that just looks like wall. Oh, but there's something there. Hold on. I can't get to it. No! I'm stuck in the mess of towel. Okay, well at least I know it's there for when things are folded. Twilight's a good game when it gets... Yeah, I think so too. In fact, 1% of the chat can divide by the news can devote... Wait. The 1% of chat I can devote to now is the news of the PSN shut... Is it PSN shutdown? I didn't even know about that. We all come here for your voice acting, Retro. I appreciate it. I come here for the pay. Well, not a shutdown. It's temporary for the PSN. Borrow Ash 20 quid. That's funny. Retro's ASMR bedtime story, complete with the singing of Jumping Jack Flash, was paid £60 for by Ash. He has not done it. Skyward Sword is similar in my respect. Got to the dungeons and the game opens up. Yeah, I agree. That one I think takes a little longer to get going, but I do think that one's still good. I've got to figure out the dash pattern for that last piece. Well, that first piece obviously is going to stand in my way, though, if I don't pay attention. There we go. I needed to grab the inner wall there. I thought that little thing in the back, I don't know why, this is my fault, but you see those hanging tapestries? I thought that I could stand on that wire. Clearly, of course, I cannot. That's clearly background. Whoops. That's clearly background. Okay, I knew I wasn't going to get I needed to be above it and then to get it to dash upward, but I didn't, so. I don't think I can from down here. I think I have to get it when I'm up there, so I'll have to come back to this room apparently. Okay. That just doesn't feel good at all. That feels like such a tight window. Okay, and this will clean and organize. We need those classic dungeons. Oh, sorry, I was... Also, for the record, I really liked Ocarina of Time's Water Temple. Save the boot switching during the 3DS one change. Yeah. Tears of the Kingdom dungeons are more like those. The big... then... I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure what a Sarny Beast is. But yeah, or more like those than the bigs. Oh, okay, I misread that. Echoes brought those back. From what I played, I even got stumped in Echoes a bit. And I like that. That's really good to have a puzzle. It's not Zelda anymore. We played some open world games from a decade ago, and so is now in Zelda. Yeah. I agree completely with that. Like, 2 puzzle and Echo dungeons made me go, okay, how do I really solve this? Jamie just likes Breath of the Wild more than me. I like, that's the thing. I like puzzles, and I feel like Zelda does is kind of a puzzle game. It has elements that are very puzzle orientated, that should stay very puzzle orientated. And again, I don't think recent Zelda games have really done that. I do love, you want to pick a puzzle game, though, I guess now they have their own little genre. I'm fully into Sherlock Holmes games of this age. I think those are pretty solid. They're not perfect by any stretch, but they're pretty good. Okay, the key's we're still not there. Definitely much less cluttered than it was just a minute ago, though. Where's Mr. Oshiro? It's looking a lot nicer in here. Can you show me the exit now? But Miss Retro, you've barely enjoyed the myriad luxuries that our hotel has to offer. We can talk more once I finish cleaning. I'm very busy. Yes, young people have no respect these days. I'm doing all the cleaning. You're welcome, sheesh. I'm the one who's done all of this cleaning. Do you want my help or not? It's over, Oshiro. She hates you. I don't. I'm sorry. Your hotel it's beautiful, truly world class. I wish I could stay. No need to humor me, Miss Retro. I understand. He is kind of... maybe he wants to hurt me, but he's kind of adorable. I don't think if I ran into this guy in an actual dark alley, I would be at all threatened. If he had a gun in his hand, I would not be. Come on. I didn't mean to do that, dang it. Okay, the climb really wears out faster than you think it will. Oh, it's Ms. Retro rooms now. Yeah, in this one. I'm little Madeline there. So in this one, my character's technically a little Ms. I'm fine with that. I myself am probably either to someone's great disappointment or otherwise. I am not. I think my voice betrays fairly obviously that I'm not a Ms, but who knows? I say that, but eh. Okay, that heart down there, I can't get to it from here. Ah. This one's going to be a smidge trickier. If only just a smidge. There we are. Okay, I have to... Oh, it didn't let me move up, son of a gun. I thought I could make it. It's very difficult to figure out where I can jump on this. I can't seem to... Maybe I need to go lower. Maybe... Oops. Maybe that's the secret. So let's go down here. Jump here. Come to here. To here. To here. No, I can't. I can't go any lower than that. Whoops. Yeah, I think okay, so I think I have to save myself space. If I go, whoops. If I go... Oops. I know I don't have to get this strawberry, and so I may not, but it would be nice to have for the collection of my plethora of strawberry. That was probably what I needed right there too, where I was. I need to line that up. Okay, so what I think I need to do is be down here, jump here. I shouldn't have done that, but I can fix it by this. Then I jump here, jump down, jump over, jump across. Now I still have room here to which I can then do this with. I don't know why I let go. I guess I was too exhausted. Dang it. Ah. I do think that's the answer to the puzzle, but I don't know if I can execute it. I think I can. It's just that part right there. Oh, I did it. I have the skill of the ancients. They wouldn't have had this skill. This kind of dexterity wouldn't have worked for the ancients. Okay, sorry. Are we asking what certain world leaders would main in Street Fighter? Sending Trump the link to the latest Zelda game so he can ban it. I don't know if he will, but maybe. Trump loves Majora's. I like Majora's Mask. That's a good game. I can't fault him for liking it if he does. I like that one. It's circuitous as it comes, but it's fun. Putin mains Zangief. That makes the most sense, doesn't it? I mean, I can't blame him though. Zangief's such a fun character. Look at that. Look at all of this mess we fixed. Where are you, oligosaccharide? That's not his name. It is directionally still a little bit more, again. All right. I have to remember what direction I need to take this key. Okay, the first thing I know is that this is now, no, that was where I was before. There was another one. There was a secret area that I was in, remember, and it was blocked by folded towels. That's where he is, but I want to take just a second to figure out what was in that secret. Maybe I can't go back to it. I may not be able to go back to it. All right. Alright, there's my little floaty friend. There you are. You certainly have a knack for wandering off. It was tough, but I sorted everything out for you. Yes, it was. The Celestial Resort Hotel extends its gratitude for your assistance, Miss Retro. Of course, the staff had the mess under control. Oh, sure, yeah. What staff? It's just been me and you. How humiliating. You must be eager to see your room. It's just up the elevator and down the hall. Sure, what the heck. Show me the presidential suite. It sounds lovely. Now's your last chance, Oshiro. Don't lose her now. You keep flying away from me anyway. Look at this. This is what you do. Okay, I see what we're doing here. It is definitely easier said than done. Whoops. Except for that. That was just my stupid mistake. They accelerate very rapidly at the very beginning, and they decelerate very I need to dash when I'm at that point. There we are. Oh, is it Theo? Theo, what are you doing? Man, it's amazing here. What are you were supposed to be outside. How's it going with El Creepo? I helped him clean up that huge mess, but he was kind of a jerk about it. He didn't, yeah. He still thinks he can convince me to stay. Retro? Seriously. My bad idea, Radar, is off the charts on this one. You should get out of here. If I disappear now, Mr. Oshiro could have a meltdown. And maybe I can actually do something good for once. Her self-confidence is so low. Forget your karma. Wait, what? Okay. I think that guy is going to melt down no matter what. You have to think about your safety. Theo, I'll be okay. Yeah, I didn't expect you to listen. See you on the outside, jailbird. Can't go up there either, huh? Churchill would have played Balrog. That's funny. That would have been an interesting play. The Balrog Bulldog of Winston Churchill. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, this is a bunch of Dash Bull. Whoa. This is... What is this supposed to... Why? You have to hit them all in one fell swoop. It's very difficult. We'll do that so I don't have to touch the flooring again. Well, I could have gotten it, maybe. I'm going to leave that strawberry because going back would not be fun on that. That was the wrong time to have to let go. Ah, I hit the spikes. Whoops. Some of the puzzle I realize is figuring out what parts of the wall you don't necessarily need to touch. Like right there, I have to have the boost, so I needed not to touch that far in right one. So it's this, and then I'm going to come over here like this, and then I don't need to touch the right wall there, see? I can just do that. This is Oshiro. Oh, this is it, Yoshiro. Your last chance. You already ruined it, making a guest clean up your mess. She'll never stay. No, she's still here. There's a chance. The presidential suite is the key. It will surely impress her. Oh, he looks so nice. Oh, get it together, Oshiro. Is this his... So, his doubt is what's making this. Whoops. There you are, Miss Retro. Follow me quickly. We're almost there. Okay, so he's the one his self-doubt is kind of like mine is. Whoa. Hold on. I want to see if I can get that strawberry. Clearly not. We'll just leave that strawberry alone. Oh, this is just a bunch of strawberry rooms, basically. Let's see. Oh, and the Eastlanders. I'll admit I don't watch a lot of live TV, so I'd easily miss it. I only watch clips of soaps these days, least of all because a recent soap star Millie Gibson is in Doctor Who. That's what I was thinking too, Mel Gibson. Alright. I think this is just a bunch of strawberry rooms, and so for now we'll leave that alone. Whoops. Okay, this is a tricky... I see what it is, but it's tricky. I think I went... Did I go through... Did that not feel like I kind of went through that one? Ah, so close. That was just me being silly. Imagine if she was related to Mel Gibson, though. That would be interesting. He's come back into the public eye recently, I think, for some reason or another. I don't know what it is. I remember that he was a big actor at one point in time, and then you remember him for like Lethal Weapon, and The Patriot was another one, and Braveheart. He was a big deal, and then he kind of faded into obscurity, I guess I would say. And then now, only recently, he's kind of come back into the... This is difficult. He's kind of come back into the public eye. I don't know why. I don't know if he's acting again or what's going on. I haven't seen him act in anything in a while. Hey, you can't make that jump without the dash, so... Maybe I have more time than I think on these little tracts. No, I don't. I have exactly as much time as I think, so... There we go. What is that? Oh, well, I wasn't paying attention. Okay, I need to pay more. It's a Mario-esque puzzle. Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, it was good to have you, Jamie. Thank you for popping in and saying hi. It was very, it was nice. Sorry, this game takes much concentration to just be halfway decent at, and I have clearly not been halfway decent. Is that a cassette tape? It is. It's B-side of a cassette tape. What does a cassette tape do for me? Oh, and I get bubbled back. Thank you for being so generous. I appreciate that. All right, what have we? Check in. It's Mr. Oshiro's diary. We should not read this. The final entry appears to be decades old. Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he died.
As of today, the hotel is officially closed. Charlotte organized the staff for a farewell hike up the mountain. Most of us have never seen the summit. It seemed like a fitting goodbye, but when the time came, I couldn't bear to leave without looking around one last time. I told him to go on without me. I will catch up with him soon after I double-check that everything is in order. I can't believe that my time here is over. What am I going to do now? Perhaps I'll stay one last night so that the hotel and I can have a proper goodbye.
And you never did have a goodbye because you're still here. Okay, I can't. He's still got me blocked off. Well, now what am I supposed to do here? Oh, I see. Okay, I got that in one try. I didn't think I was going to. Oh, it's a very nice suite.
Here we are, our award-winning presidential suite. Truly, it is the very definition of rustic luxury. I'll stand back and allow you to soak in the majesty.
Anytime I get into a mirror, though, my self-doubt comes out kind of like yours does, except for she chases me around and yours just makes a bunch of blotches in the hotel.
I understand it can be a lot to handle.
It's a really nice place, though.
So, what do you think?
It's beautiful. The furniture looks expensive. It's very spacious. The colors are elegant. I can tell you put a lot of work into it.
I knew it would impress you.
Yeah. So, can I get on the roof from here?
You imbecile, you're losing her. Oh, I almost forgot to mention. Valued guests such as yourself stay in our finest accommodations at half price.
I don't want to stay.
Please, Miss Retro. Please stay.
Mr. Oshiro, I've already been sidetracked too long. Oh, there I am. Retro, sweetie, forget this loser.
Loser?
Oh. You're in denial, old man. This resort is a dump. No one would ever want to stay here. Someone had to say it. She doesn't mean that.
I'm very busy.
Please leave, Miss Retro. Come on, Ms. Retro. You heard the man. Where would you be without me? Is that just me or is that the doubt me? No, I can't tell. Oh.
Why would she say my beautiful hotel is a dump? How dare she insult you like that?
Can I...
What if she was right?
Or she's right?
Of course she's right. You couldn't even clean up without her help. I tried. I'm doing my best.
Miss Retro only wanted to help. Well, at least he's coming around. We were kind of... Now, the dark side of us was definitely rude. It's still Miss Retro's room, it seems. It is. I won't watch the... Yes. Mirror, Mirror, did you watch My Name is Emily at all? I did watch that. I watched it with you. But the Rachel Z. Snow White I am completely disinterested in. Well, hello, Miss Retro, is what Retro says when he wakes up in a non-binary mood. I've never woken up in a mood where I didn't feel... You know, it's a funny thing. I've never felt that I am... Let me say it. I've never felt that I'm anything. I don't feel that I'm a man. I don't feel that I'm a woman. I am a man. I want to be very clear about that. But I've never, as a man, woken up and been like, man, I'm a man today. I've never just... I don't care. I don't think about it. It's just... It's just what it is. I think that's such an interesting concept, the people that have the problem where they think about that constantly. It's such a sad thing. But I've never done that. I don't wake up and think I'm a man. If some people when I've had long hair, they'll tap on and be like, hey, you know. They'll tap on my shoulder and, ma'am, excuse me because of long hair. And that just never bothered me. I just was like, I don't care. I'm a man, I enjoy... I'm a man who enjoys being me, not a man. I don't care about whether being a man or what. I just enjoy being me.
But why was she so cruel? Can we get through to him? How dare she insult you like that?
No, so we're in a circle. Poor guy. He didn't deserve that. That's not good, though, because we've stoked his self-doubt, and we know that that's what makes those red things. I thought we'd never get rid of him. You owe me one. Add it to the list. Leave me alone. I thought you were so determined to keep climbing. Now all of a sudden you're some weirdo's therapist? Why won't you go away? Oh.
Miss Retro, before you go, I need to ask one question. Why would you be so nice to me only to run away? What did I do wrong?
Oh, give it a break. You still don't get it. She only helps people to feed her twisted ego. She never cared about you. Shut up. And that's the interesting piece. I just wanted to help. You're both pathetic.
Pathetic? You only come here to humiliate me? I won't grovel at your feet any longer.
I mean, this is a fair... Oh. Okay. Am I not able to grab the sides? I actually saw that. Let's see. This part is tough. We'll try it. I'm so tired of the majority of modern games. That's fair. I'm buying a PS2. Very fair. I will admit I'm not tired of modern games. I'm just gaming to a degree, but hopefully in March I'll play games again. February has been more of a break. I think the Switch 2 will bring you back. Hopefully, I'm not super excited about the Switch 2, but I hope it succeeds. I am very excited about the Switch 2. Clumsy Cuber says Celeste. I need to be able to jump up at a kind of an angle to get that. It's very difficult to do that too. I have a lot of trouble getting it to recognize to jump. There we go. We'll just do that. Can I get up there? Yeah, I can. I should be able to climb up there if I have to. Oh, that was my fault. Let's see. Doing all right, clumsy cuber. So there's a Celeste, now Celeste. I'm confused. Celeste is as the third Celeste's game centered around golfing. Celeste. Well, is it on par with this one? Maybe it's a whole other game. Well done, Viddy. Well done. Oh, well done, Clumsy Cuber, too, with that. I love that little ledge. We'll let him do his thing there. I could have just bounced, but it wouldn't. The timing wouldn't have worked out. Oh, shoot. It's still very difficult for me to get this thing to recognize, to recognize up and to the left or up and to the right input. I tried to jump into. I wanted to see what the timing of the lightning was. Oh, so he always adjusts at the very end just a little bit. Okay, I gotcha. I meant to go sideways. The one time I wanted to not to register that. And it does. I was completely in the wrong... my thumb was completely in the wrong position, though. He's kind of an adorable little ghost, though, isn't he? Or a vampire, I guess. I can't tell what he's supposed to be. I also like the little,
The little, what the stars when you hit his head. Okay, I see. Ah, shoot. Okay, I see what the difficulty is on the... Ah, ha, ha, ha. I shouldn't have done that. I should have just gone. I keep forgetting that that one was right there. Ah, I needed to drop in the... Okay. Let's see. I forgot about the red thing. See, I think the little... when you bonk him on the head and he kind of gets all dizzy. I shouldn't have dashed. You should never hold back your... Yeah, that's true. I forgot about... hold on, wait a minute. I forgot about the red thing. Retro 2025. Yeah, that's true. It's your endearing character trait. One of many, I think, yes. Ah, then again. It isn't even truly all that red. I don't know why that was the... Speaking of defining characteristics, I would argue that it's probably not the most defining. I didn't see that. It does... There gets to be a point where it all kind of does blend in with each other. And I have a little bit of trouble. I have a little bit of trouble with seeing the... Oh, good catch there, Mr. Oshiro. Oof. That was almost the end, but I done messed it up in the most inelegant English I could speak just there. This part is definitely tricky, no doubt. There's a lot going on that I don't think translates super well. Like, if you're someone who's not played this, there's a lot that I don't think translates to how tricky it is for my eye to, or for, well, I guess that could just be a problem of mine, right? But to see how tricky it is for my eye to be able to see the different patterns. And then you have to time it with when he's going to make his little strike. So like right there, I needed to get off of the ledge just on time. So the whole thing's kind of on a timer. Very, very interesting challenge. And you have to be careful not to land on one of the springs at the same time. Like that. So I know that it's all kind of, it's not random at all. It's all kind of on a perfect timer. But finding that timer out, like right here, I should probably just go ahead and delay. I was hoping to be able to get off and fall before, but... I thought I was going to bonk his head. That way I could have... Okay. I thought that was going to be a head bonk. Oh, I forgot to wait. So see, if you go the optimal speed there, even still, I think the optimal speed. So that's a head bonk. But if you go the optimal speed there, that's a head bonk. If you go to optimal speed there, he'll always hit you on that spring. He's tenacious, though. In this one, I've bonked him on the head thrice, and yet still he persists. Dang it. Oh, that was my fault. I say punquivocally, the puns give us many punion, which I have plenty. Good lord. This may be our pun doing. The son of Mario 3. No, the son of Mario 3. I'll bonk you on the head ahead of time. Hold on. Yeah, that son in Mario 3 never gave me trouble. So it is all kind of on a timer, and I'm just trying to figure out the timer and the routing, because this is not as random as you might think. I didn't mean to do that. That was my fault. I feel that I need to be perhaps a smidge more liberal with the dash. I didn't mean to do that. I should have jumped up and over. I think this game necessitates a state of flow, which I'm actually quite keen on. There it is. Yeah, I feel like this game necessitates a kind of cool state of flow. I like it. Mr. Oshiro, stop. I'm not going to do it. I just wanted to help. Oh, and there he goes, too. Orange juice, to tell the truth, paste doesn't go well together? That was barely English. Yeah, well, oh, goodness. Thank you. I've decided to close the hotel for repairs. The second floor plumbing is leaking. The library is in complete disarray. Not to mention the hole in the ceiling of the presidential suite. Please just leave me alone. That is actually a perfectly fair ask. That is a perfectly fair... I don't see why we couldn't be bothered. Aw. There's Mr. Oshiro. We got a couple of strawberries. We didn't get nearly enough, but oh well. We died a lot. That was expected, I suppose. We got a cassette tape, though, too. I don't know what it is, but alright. And here we are in Golden Ridge. Orange, you glad it was English anyway? Or aren't we glad Retro won this? The plumbing is leaking? Just ask Mario, but don't call Hotel Mario. That's copyrighted.